No, it's fine. Yeah, yeah. Who? Oh, okay, okay. How's it going? Man, 2 hours. How do you dial into this thing? How do you, how do you dial into this? I hit it and it doesn't do it.
Get on there, click on
I
that.
click on it.
You have to open that, you have to open the, right there, you have to open
Oh,
it.
download it.
Yeah,
I knew you knew.
right
Oh,
there.
man. You would think I know that. I got water, iced tea, and coffee.
Director Kilberry is here, so he'll be giving a staff report for fire department. I don't think it's on there, but go ahead.
Okay.
Fire department report.
Yeah.
Called you today, said you were here.
He's going to talk about the new one?
Probably.
Oh, good.
And just kind of an update on who missed the last meeting. So they
Yeah, good.
I asked them, update on that, any new horizon increases or things like that coming.
I would hope not after what they just did.
Both those taken out.
Wow. Hmm? 7? 6?
There's still people
We're waiting. She's drinking too much. No. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right, I think we're all here. Let's go ahead and get the show on the road. Go ahead and do the pledge. Our Father, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. No, about 2 hours. Alrighty, Alan, do you want to do a little prayer first?
If you'll join me in prayer this evening. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for last year and all the blessings that you bestowed upon our residents in our town. The hedge of protection from the hurricane, the damage that was done, the damage that could have been done. We are thankful for that as we look to those in California fighting fires and those still who are trying to recover and put their lives back together with the hurricane damage. We ask that you'll be with those families from last year that lost that special family member or a special friend. We can't forget those people. We ask that you will be with those in their special way. Bless us tonight as we have a business of the town, that the officers of our town, councilmen, will do your bidding and do the bidding of the people. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. We'll do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Hartle,
Present.
Councilmember Morganelli,
Here.
Councilmember Lay, Vice Mayor Womack,
Present.
Mayor Wynkoop.
Present. Alrighty. Let's move it on. We're gonna, first thing we're gonna do is appoint a new member to the MPO board. The MPO board is Metropolitan Planning Organization. They, in Lake County, it's Lake and Sumter together, just to give a fast recap of it so you know what it is. Lake and Sumter County are joined together, and together they plan out all new roads, and like the road going from 429 to Lake Louisa, that would be an MPO a long time ago, about 10 years ago, and now it's being constructed. But they do all the new roads, bike trails, and what else? Walking trails. But they have to be new. So we're going to put our member on that board, and we've all take turns to do it, and we need to nominate somebody to do it.
Well, I asked Carol if she wanted to continue, and she said that she would consider that gratefully, so I nominate Carol.
I second it. All in
Next
favor
time
say
around,
aye.
it's you, Joe. You know
I
that,
thought
right?
it was coming from
Against say nay.
Yay.
Ayes have it. Oh, that was easy.
Railroaded.
I volunteered like an idiot.
No, it's a real good, I was on it 10 years. It's a real good way of getting
I was only
involved.
on about 3.
It
That
is.
was enough.
Yeah, it
We
was a
could
long
just get them
time.
to change that meeting time from 2 in the afternoon. That's a bit,
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to, okay, let's do the citizens' questions. You can come up and ask questions to the council, but it can't be anything that's on the agenda. So if it's on the agenda, we can't talk about it yet. So if you got something you want to talk to the council about, come on up. One at a time. Come on up.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Just a quick question.
Oh, you got to say your name.
Address?
Yeah.
Name, address. Brian Mendez, 17432 2nd Street.
Okay.
Good to proceed? Okay.
Yep.
So the park at the end of Porter Ave, I saw it was shut down. Do you have any updates on repairs?
Yeah, it's such a big project right now because I don't know if you saw before and after. I don't know. There's probably 20 trees. Jim lives right next to it. About 20 trees that just snapped, and they're gigantic. And Paul's got it on the list, but it is the last thing we're doing for the
Sure.
hurricane to clean up because we just had it shut down. It's coming up pretty soon. And I'd say in the next 30, 40 days we'd be
30, 40
starting
days.
it.
All right, thank you.
We heard a tornado come through, and that's what cut down all those trees. So, I mean, you've never been able to see the lake before. Now you can see the lake.
It snapped trees this big.
Just snapped them
It
everywhere.
snapped. Okay, next.
Hi, Council. Bob Tomlinson, 16634 Bagnell Taylors, Montverde, Florida. Question to the town planner regarding the intersection of Ridgewood and Fosgate. When this spring, when they open up the bridge, are there any plans in the future on what they're going to do with that particular intersection?
Do you mean, so the intersection of what?
Fosgate and Ridgewood, which
Yeah.
is at the four corners right there.
Right.
I don't know
Right.
if you remember, Sean, but that's going to be, and Fosgate and 455. Those two corners. Yeah, no, I know, but I'm explaining a couple places. That, Fosgate and 455 and Ridgewood and Fosgate and Blackstill and Fosgate are all going to be roundabouts.
Okay, so they're going to put 3 or 4
Do you remember
roundabouts
that?
in
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
that's been in the plan,
It's a
right?
ways away.
Yeah, up here, yes, that's planned for a
Right,
roundabout.
because we all know that it's going to be a rush
Yeah.
to get to that bridge from where we sit right here.
Yeah, I'm putting, it's a ways away.
Yeah.
But
Funding
that's what's on the
availability.
drawing board.
All right,
Yeah.
because we're looking at probably before May, that bridge will be open, so everybody will be able to swing over to that new Publix and whatnot as well. Okay, very good. Question for the Paul. Paul, I've been told that there's going to be some changes on the visioning committee. Are you going to bring that up when you speak, or should we discuss that now?
I don't have anything to report on it. I haven't had time to look at it. I've been trying to use some vacation time.
Okay, because
So-
do we still need to set things up for the committee members and everything? Because I know every year that I
yeah,
think
we're
we get
doing,
together with the mayor on that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do it in next meeting.
Yeah,
We
we'll
might try
do
to
it the
do another
February
meeting
meeting.
this month.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
just wanted to bring that up. for that
This one even
particular-
got really packed.
Because I think that you wanted to start things going again with the vision committee as well, so I just
That's
wanted to
correct.
set the ground rules on that. Okay, guys, thanks a lot, appreciate it.
Alrighty, anybody else?
Farmer Banks Helfrich, Clay Road District, South Lake County. Farm tip of the day, if you have tomatoes, get them in the soil right now. This is the time tomatoes grow. They like the cool weather. They do not like humidity. You can grow them all the way until about mid-April. Mayor, council, distinguished guests, November 5th, 2024, 89.9% of registered voters in Lake County voted. Let that sink in.
No.
The first 3 words of the preamble to the Constitution, and probably the most powerful and important words in the entire document, we the people showed up. We the people are out here. We the people voted, we decided. In our republic, in our democratic republic, we the people are the most important part of this government. In fact, leadership begins from the bottom and we allow it to move up. You all are our servants, our problem solvers. You all are our listeners. So, as a member of We the People, I wish you well for the next 2 years or 1 year that you go forward. My name is Farmer Banks Helfrich. May you all be blessed. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much.
One question for you. I noticed the glasses and shoes almost match. I like that. That's good.
I'm working on it.
Alrighty, anybody else like to talk to the council about something that's not on the agenda? Alrighty, let's go ahead and keep it moving. Alright, let's start with our town manager's report.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I am going to keep it brief just because of the agenda length today, but I will plan on meeting with each of you in the next couple of weeks. Truscott Park was on my list to just briefly talk about. Sandy has set up a meeting with FEMA tomorrow where they're going to come out and review the damage and see if we can get the boardwalk rebuilt and possibly hardened against future storms. So that's what we're asking FEMA. The insurance company at this point has denied the claim for damages because of a wind event. So we're going to have to probably have that discussion if FEMA doesn't cover with the insurance company and get our town attorney involved in that. The debris removal will also at the Stetcher property will be discussed with FEMA when they're here, just to see. I want written authorization that they're going to cover the cost to remove it out of there so we can start on that process at the Stetcher property. Want to let you know, last week we finished up all of the final documentation and paperwork for the hills of Montverde. For the transfer of funds to the town in the amount of $200,000, for the impact fees, for the supplying of water, and also for the transfer of the contract for the $900,000 tank they're going to turn over to the town. So that's now all in possession of the town. And we'll actually have dirt work starting out there probably next week to get the site prepped, ready for the tank to be installed. And that water tank will be used for future irrigation water for the town and for the park area. Lastly, I want to, we're tentatively looking at having a special meeting on January 28th. It'll be a workshop meeting. And during that meeting, we want to cover the CRA, which is a Community Redevelopment Authority agency, Community Redevelopment Agency, to discuss how we can utilize those special areas to help improve our downtown area and our core heart around 455 area. We're ready to present the impact fee studies to the town. I want to start with a workshop and kind of present that so you can ask all your questions. So we, last year we started the process, which we need to do every 5 to 7 years, of renewing our impact fee studies. And so we have those results back, and we're still working through a few little things on the draft, but we should be ready to present that to you on that meeting on 28th. Then lastly, Mr. Parks wants to review the comp plan with you. We've had some comments back from the state. They're cleaning that up. And as a follow-up, council has asked the town staff to look at amending the comp plan to allow a super majority for changes to anything related to lot sizes and things along that line. So that'll be one of the discussion items up for discussion at that meeting. And that's all I have for tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Move on to our town attorney. All righty, thank you very much. You know, I was going to ask our fire chief from Lake County to come down. We got a special guest today, and he will be able to give us an update on everything. Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for recognizing. My name is David Kilberry. I'm the Public Safety Director with Lake County Fire Rescue, and I consider myself one of the team members with the town manager, and we've been communicating some things. He's asked me to come and just talk about the month of December's call volume. So we had 13 calls for service inside the city proper. We had 2 fire alarms, 1 brush fire, 9 medical calls, and 0 structure fires or vehicle fires. And we had 1 call for service, which typically involves changing out the batteries that a resident can't reach to in those. And then we also had 42 calls for service in the surrounding immediate areas, and the majority of those were medical calls, but they did this engine and crew responded to 4 structure fires, 4 vehicle accidents, and 1 vehicle fire. So that is the report for our calls for service. Then also the update, we, in talking with the town manager, excuse me, we are beginning to discuss the ceremony for the groundbreaking of Station 85. This morning I reached out to facilities just to see where we're at in the process, and I will read you that memo. Fire Station 85 drawings are in need of the final landscape drawings. Original task order was rejected, and a revised proposal should be received this week to get that taken care of. Other than that, we should be able to apply for the permit soon, and that is in reference to Fire Station 85 up there at Fosgate at the 3 corners there where you were talking earlier. In addition, just to make you aware, the Academy asked for a accelerated fireworks permit. If you're not aware, this Friday they have a Disney-themed event where they have a licensed fireworks shooter who will be doing that display. And the Academy has hired not the engine here, but an additional engine that'll come into the town with a crew to ensure that that's conducted safely. And with that, that is my report. I'll take any questions, but again, for the residents and the visitors here, my name is David Kilberry, and the town contracts with Lake County Fire Rescue for service. We have 6 municipalities in the county that contract with us, and each one of the senior members of my team represent that as the town's fire chief, and I consider that my role here with the town manager and the council. I appreciate that relationship, and we are dedicated to serve.
Do you see any hang-ups? We're getting a new fire station on the hill finished?
I do not.
Good.
No. You know, there will be some change orders and things like that, but it's just part of the construction process. I'm not involved intimately in that construction project. It's part of the facilities department in the county. but certainly I have a staff member that's keenly involved in that.
One question for you. Since you guys, the county, put the ambulance out of here, and the ambulance will be up on the hill also, have you noticed any response times, or I should say feedback, that on the turnpike they like having an ambulance respond time so much quicker? I know because all the constructions from Killarney up to here, you guys are rolling a lot on those, or Claremont, both of you, on responding.
Right, great question. We, even in dispatch, sometimes need to determine by the cameras which direction the accident is at, because typically the quickest unit is the opposing travel. So Orange County has a section of the turnpike past 50, so you'll have the Oakland station out of Orange County. They'll send an engine and ambulance, and then we will dispatch up toward the entrance near Groveland. So there's a lot of talk, but if you're not aware, in the dispatch center, we have the ability to tap into the DOT cameras, and so the dispatchers are the first eyes, the first responders, if you will, of what's there. But it is a sign of the times with the construction. People are just not adhering to the slower speeds. Everyone wants to get somewhere, and it's usually people rear-end collisions and then people trying to avoid it, and we call that job security and fire rescue. So.
Now, are you going to have the same amount of staff in the new?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So
yes, sir.
2 and 2, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And there could be additional in next budget year. We're working through a staffing plan to upgrade that. But you're in good hands. We also have mutual aid agreements with that. So we have units that always are moving around the county as we get busy.
Mineola's in Ferndale right now, but they're
That's
moving to their city hall.
Yep, so that's the
building.
partnership that I speak of. The city council as well as the county commissioners have moved in a Mineola fire crew there, and we are actually housing an ambulance in one of their current fire stations, and when they move into their new campus that's attached to their city hall, we will move an additional ambulance in there as well. So.
Not to make a comment from your point of view, but I'm assuming that Lake County and everybody else in Florida has looked at the California situation, and I'm sure you have some people are saying, do we have any chinks in our armor that we need to look at?
Yeah, so
We do a good job, though. I'm saying that for sure.
we do, and that's what's known in the service as urban interface with wildland. And so there are strategies in place. One of the programs is called FireWise, and we do have a FireWise community in Lake County. And that is where you have this defendable space between the wildland growth and your structure. But you just look at the topography there and the limited access and things like that, is those canyons and hurricane force winds, nobody can prepare for a fire like that. So yeah, it is tragic, and probably will be one of the worst fires in U.S. history, and it's not over. It's still out of control. So in fact, today, CERP through the out to the regions, out of this Tallahassee Emergency Management, they're actually asking for Florida resources. They have heavy lift aircraft that are coming into Dade County for those departments that can send resources. They're going to fly the fire trucks and personnel out to California. Any other questions?
No.
Again, on behalf of the county manager and the commission, I appreciate our relationship. I'm always here. You can reach me through the town manager. So thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
That was very good. All righty, let's go ahead and move to our planner.
Hey, Mayor and Council, just real quick as a follow-up, just to let you know, the facilities for Lake County started submitting the final permit stuff for the fire station today, so we started receiving that.
Good deal. Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Mayor, as your planner, reporting that pretty typical number of zoning clearances come in since the last time this report was made. And then, as the manager referenced, we will be getting into the adoption phase of the comprehensive plan changes. So you remember you voted to transmit a few months ago. Coming up on one more hearing with adoption with some recommended changes from the state. So we'll look forward to getting that done and getting your comp plan fully updated.
Awesome.
That's it.
Awesome. How about our county commissioner?
Nothing new to report other than February, I'm already getting way ahead. January 22nd, I want to remind everybody that we'll have a meeting in Ferndale, the Ferndale Baptist Church, 6 o'clock. That is a meeting that's open to everybody. And we particularly focused on the residents of Ferndale. As I emphasized last time, wonderful success for the county in terms of protecting rural areas, led by Montverde this past summer. That area is now protected in an interlocal service boundary agreement for another 20 years. And what we're going to do at the workshop on the 22nd, 6 p.m. at Ferndale Baptist Church, is discuss what landowners can do, how they might be interested in protecting their land through an easement. Florida Wildlife Corridor will come in. We'll probably talk a little bit about the upcoming process for the county lands acquisition referendum that passed. Other partnership opportunities to get those lands permanently protected, as well as just be available to answer any residents in the unincorporated part of the county there that might have questions about whatever. The sheriff, I think, is going to come, so the sheriff will be there, as well as all the other county commissioners are most. So it's probably the first time that's ever happened to have a meeting like that in Ferndale. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I don't know, you guys probably know the interlocal service boundary agreement was okay. And if you know this, if you're going through Ferndale and you see the Ferndale sign as you first go in, then if you're coming back from the roundabout down in Sugar Mountain and you see the next sign coming in this way, between those two signs, and Sean was a huge part of this, and so was Anita, and so was Paul. In between those two signs, if it's not already plotted, you have to have 5 acres to build a house for 20 years. So the vision I personally have is, because of the turnpike right there now, anybody that's going to build on there is going to pay for 5 acres and put up a nice home, and there are going to be estates there after a while. So Ferndale is going to look a lot better in 20 years. That's how I vision it.
Yeah, no, we do too.
But Sean was a huge part of that, and so was Anita, and we all worked together and got that done.
Sean, 2 quick questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Can you give us an update, or just curious about how the hurricane cleanup countywide is? I know last time we met, we asked and you helped get the Asatula down here corridor cleaned up a little bit better, and that made a lot. That was the one question. Second question, shared this with Paul, and he told me to ask you. Up here on top of the hill at Fosgate and 455, as you come into town from Ferndale, we have that tree issue right there beside the road. Those 2 trees and all the undergrowth that's growing around them, that belongs to the county. Can we get them, when they get a chance, and with everything else they're doing with the brush cleanup, to look at cleaning up that? There's 2 oaks, and then there's some non-desirous trees that should probably come out. But it's been mentioned before by residents to council that it is a situation that they like. I mean, they're right on the road to do something about that.
Okay. The answer to that second question is yes. We can definitely look at that and get that managed. So what was the first question then? That was
About
the cleanup. I'm sorry.
County,
of course.
county rights.
I need some more chocolate here, I guess. So the cleanup effort, obviously, as I said several times, did not go as we had wanted. I think it's taken care of now. I think I know there's a couple spots around the county, generally speaking, that might still be an issue. But we had issues with the contractors. We went through several contractors. There was just some sort of, I'll just leave it at unsavory stuff going on that forced us to change contractors. And we got it taken. There was a big push right before Christmas. I know that got made a lot of people happy. So there shouldn't be any more issues with debris cleanup, but I always tell people, email me directly if there is.
That's it.
Yep, thank you.
All righty, thank you very much, appreciate it. Let's move on to the council. How about Alan, do you have something?
Yeah, I took some time this past week to go through all my notes from every meeting we had last year and came up with a list of things that were curious, and I had a discussion with Paul, and mostly all of them are caught up, but one that did jump out at me, and I kind of handled this to Anita back in April when we had the old house that caught on fire and burnt. we had problems with trespassing, and we had an issue about what we could do and can't do legally as a town for trespassing on public and private property. And I think you had said that the appellate court had said that you can't arrest people, you had to basically transport them to a shelter. Since we don't have a shelter, that was kind of a moot issue. But Paul shared with me yesterday that the Supreme Court overturned the lower court to say that, yes, you can. Have you heard any updates on that, or can bring us as to what we do?
Yeah, there's been some changes, and I can bring you an update at the next meeting.
That was just in the back of my mind. With winter weather, we get transients that like to make this place their home for short term, and we were wanting to try to stay on top of that. So that's all I had. The town does look kind of northernly gloomy without all the leaves, and the weather's been making it look like this is some northern town. So I'm waiting for our town to glow again. So spring is on its way, I know. So that's all I had.
All right, thank you. Jim Lay, do you have anything?
I was going to mention that to Sean, I know that's not really your,
Is your mic on?
it's on, I'm just not speaking loud enough. Coming through the Woodlands area, which we always called the Cabbage Patch, the cleanup crews have been working real good at getting, but they're out in the road without any signage or anything. I came through this morning and almost ran into one because I came on the curve, and I always drive about 10 under the speed limit through that area. And I mean, I was, whoa, they're out in the road. And so, any way you could talk about putting up a sign saying men working in road or something. Yeah.
Yes, I will pass that along to them. Again, you know, contractors sometimes
I understand.
taking who you can get. So, but that doesn't, yes, we should be concerned about the safety, so. Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, and I guess it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, our same area, and somebody was cutting down a tree, I guess one of the contractors, and it came down and took out the power lines. And this woman had come up, walking up, wanting to know why we were all stopped in traffic. We were stopped in traffic because they were staying in the road. And luckily, if she'd gone another 15 feet, she would have caught the power lines. And so, yeah, I think they need signage or something.
Okay, I will pass that along. I'm actually writing a message for Jennifer now, so.
That's it.
All righty, thank you. Joe, do you have some?
So I also had some conversations with Paul, and I wanted to sort of really talk with council briefly in reference to like quality of service for residents as far as us getting back to them. Like we have an email that was sent on the 1st, and that resident was never responded to. I guess, is there a way that do we have anything, and I asked Paul this today, I don't know if there's a way that we can maybe do something with quality of service so that residents can have an expectation as to when they're going to get a response from email, phone calls, whether it's a billing question related or any permitting even, if we can have something that we have a service standard that we can follow. And that was the question I had for Paul today. We talked about it.
Yeah, my apologies. Occasionally an email gets missed. You know, I get over probably 100 emails a day, and I try to get through them. I've been on vacation, so I'm answering my emails during vacation, so I try to get to the urgent ones, but occasionally I look at one and I'm in the middle of doing something or I won't say at an intersection, but stop somewhere. Man, I apologize for missing that one, but I generally try to, the same person that you're talking about sent probably a dozen emails over the last couple of months, and every one was responded to, so occasionally one gets missed. And I know some of them with staff, it just takes the time to get through them. It just depends on, we've just been busy. No excuse, but we'll definitely work on trying to get those responses a little more timely when we have the opportunity.
And just so I've said to Paul, it's not the Paul show. Like he needs to delegate a little bit too, because there's only so much work that one person can do, and it's sort of a little unfair to Paul. And not that so yeah. So having said that, it's something maybe we need to think about down the road. And
we're just in a cycle right now where it's extremely busy. It's not going to stay that way, just with the capital projects that are coming in, the grant money that's rolling around. We're at the end of the year with reports and the audit coming in, and the hurricane set us back. The sewer discussion was time-wise just, stopped everything for 3 months. So we're playing catch-up from last year, and once that gets balanced out, that will help with the process. So it's not necessarily we just need a little bit of time to get that balanced out, and then I have a hurricane next year would be nice. That would help us.
It would be nice, yeah, absolutely. The last bit then I have is, as far as with what you just sort of mentioned, maybe we need to look at thinning our binders until we get caught up. And the reason I'm saying that, it's not that I was ready for this on Saturday. However, this is a lot to digest in 4 days, and to do due diligence for residents, it's tough. You know, I want to make sure that we're all doing the right thing for the residents, and for 4 days to review all of this, it's just a lot. So maybe it's something that we need to think about down the road, is like maybe we slow down a little, take a few items off if they're not ready a week or two in advance, and maybe we have another meeting and we can do a special council meeting.
Yeah, again, this was an unusual time with the land development stuff. A lot of the land development code stuff, and you can speak to this, we have to have statutory deadlines where after we have so many responses, we have to get it on the agenda within so many days. And so that kind of puts us a little bit under pressure on some of the stuff to get it in. But yeah, I understand that. You know, you always have the option as a council, if you need more time, to table it and bring it back to another meeting or to a special meeting if you need more time to review it. But from my perspective, unless you tell me otherwise, you know, a lot of whether it's someone for a variance or a land development issue or a zoning case, when it's those kind of things, you know, they typically pay thousands of dollars and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to this point. So we feel a little bit obligated. They deserve their day at least to start the discussion with you. And if you need more time, definitely I think as a council you should, you know, table that and bring it back and think about it and get the information you need, because we don't want to rush the decision, but we want to get the information in front of you.
No worries. Again, I was ready Saturday. I'm not saying I was behind.
Sure.
I'm not ready for anything. I just, you know, I'm good.
So you guys paid the big bucks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, one of them basically has already been settled, and I was going to ask about the visioning committee, because I know that's come up a couple of times in the past, and we were waiting on some information. The second one, just as the fire chief was in, kind of sparked a memory. We used to get those reports in our council packet, but we haven't gotten them here lately. Particular reason for that?
No, I need to coordinate with.
I can't hear you.
Sorry. Regarding that, we'll try to get those back in. Generally, I've been getting them after the packets go out because they're giving us the month. So I might have to have them back up to the prior month. So you get them 2 months old, but that's part of the issue is, you know, our council packets usually go out the first week of the month, and they're still collecting data from the end of the month. But we'll try to get those back in, or nothing else, we could start emailing them to you if you at least have those there.
Yeah, I like tracking
for that.
it, so I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. Sorry about that.
And there's one other item, but looking at everybody we have in attendance, I'm going to put that on hold so we can just get to business. So that's it for me.
All righty. I got a few things. Let's see. I wanted to see if I have my own opinion on this, obviously, but the auditors, when they finish their reports, does the council want the auditors to come and do a presentation to you?
I'm going to say yes.
I'd be yes too.
Okay. And so we'll, and I agree with that, but I think we should have them come in and do 23 as soon as possible, and then it'll be a while before they did 24, but we can catch up on 23. Wanted to bring that back on the table. Then today I'm looking for the charter, and it wasn't on the website, so I wanted to ask the town to put the charter on the website. I think that was a big piece that was missing. You guys can do that, right? Oh, okay. On the grants, when I'm going through the grant money, and this is a conversation for us. I automatically want to, when I look at the grants, I want to, because of a lot of money, I want to see the beginning balance. I want to see what we spent. I want to see what we applied for to get refunded, and I want to see what was refunded and what's short. Can you guys follow that if you had it? You know what I'm saying? Because we're really getting some big money, and we're in money, some good sized money right now. That is getting a little difficult to watch, and I wanted to see. I know mine's been new for the past few months. I wanted to see about getting that set up. So if everybody's okay with that, then if you could work on that too, Paul.
Sure. And I believe I gave you a template to look at last month. Were you satisfied with that for the library one? Is that what you're looking for?
I'm not really easy to please when it comes to that stuff. So let me get with you again.
Okay.
And figure it out. But I want to make it super easy to just follow, and on one sheet, not, not the expense on one, the revenue on another. It's all one sheet. Bam, everybody knows where we're at, real easy, including the public. And then, I was looking through the check register before I got here, and I can't see all of them, and I'm not sure if anybody's already pointed that out to you. There's, I can, because I sign the checks, I know what I'm signing, and I'm looking for them in the register, and I just can't find them. So I wanted to double check that you, if you could look into that. There's some checks missing on the register, and then,
So the register, it's in the book, just to be clear, so that's for the prior month. So anything you signed, that would be over to this month, wouldn't be in there, so just to clarify.
right, but these are every month vendors I'm looking for.
Okay.
And I can get with you on which one I'm looking for so we can see what's going on with it.
Okay.
But I also wanted to make sure that we're not using any kind of other way of paying anybody, which I'm pretty sure we're not right now, besides checks.
No, with the exception of sometimes like a payment to the DEP for the loan stuff, that has to be an auto draft, which still will show up on the register. Checks or credit cards are about the only thing, and then credit card will show up on the check report.
But you have that report, yeah.
Correct.
Right, and then when you guys sign them, I got receipts for the credit card. So you're
Correct.
saying, I forgot about that part.
Yeah, there's a couple small things that has to be ACH, but it still shows up on the check register.
I'm
But
thinking
very few.
maybe we have some kind of easy thing you guys could put together and include it in the check run on the other withdrawals, just so we document it. and
It should
everybody
show
sees
up on that register, but I'll verify it when I could have my highlighted for
Okay,
you.
all right.
I mean, it's very few in between. It's where they
Okay.
won't take a check kind of
Well,
thing.
let's
so.
get together during the month, and then we'll figure it out
Okay.
from there. I just want to make sure everybody's paying attention to that stuff. I don't want to be the only one that's paying attention to it. So I want everybody to look at it, because I make mistakes too.
And so the register itself is not manipulated or changed any way by the town. It's run off the accounting software that the town has. And so that register has to balance on your financial report that you see, but we can definitely, and it might be good to go ahead and add that to a workshop and kind of review what's in a report and kind of go over what's all in those financial reports too. We could add that to a workshop.
Well, here's another thing, and I'm sorry to get all down the numbers, but when you look at the beginning and the ending and expenditures and pending liabilities, I want to be able to look at last month's report, come up with the pending balance, before the pending liabilities, and be able to balance that out real easy. Follow what I'm saying? Just look at last month's, okay, we ended up, I don't even have the number here, but right now we're ending up at $5,048,381.03. So that should be pretty much what,
Yeah, so the beginning balance is last month's.
Right.
That where it shows beginning balance and your revenues, your expenditures, any balance. Then pending liabilities are checks that haven't cleared the bank by the end of the month.
right, and it didn't match up to December's, so I was trying, maybe it was me, so I just did it before I got here tonight, so we can check that together too.
Sure.
But I just couldn't figure out what we're doing. I want to make it easy for everybody to see what's going on. I understand that I got about 10 more things, but I won't do them right now.
So are you asking that, for example, the February meeting will have the February numbers as well as the January? The previous?
No, I want you to be able to, and maybe we should do it that way, but what I'm saying is, if
You've
I
got
keep
both
these,
right there to
because I'm anal.
If you do it that way, you've got them both right there to compare, yeah.
Right, but I don't want to bog down me and all those people. I don't want to cause them more work. So I want to be able to look at the last number we had here and look at the first number we have there.
6 items.
And that's it.
I don't think it's bogging them down. I think that's prudent.
Yeah. It's up to you guys.
There's nothing, that's prudent, Joe.
I just hate bringing it up.
All they're gonna have to do is
Cause
pull
more
last,
work.
the current month. They'll have the previous month, so they'll just have to pull the current month.
And you guys all still have it. You take your books home, so
Yeah, I
or we
have
could give
them.
you your books to take
That's
home
what I'm
too.
saying. I do have it already.
We're lazy, we want you to do that.
And then the last thing, the other thing was the grants. We have to know where we're at with the grants, and then the number here is a grant clearinghouse. we have to remember on the grants is a high percentage, most all the grants are refunded. So we spend the money out of general fund, we put in money to get refunded, we get refunded. The ARPA fund and what was the other one? The library fund.
They're both ARPA. We have two ARPAs that were cash in advance, so the Montverde ARPA and the Lake County ARPA.
Right, which was totally different than what a grant usually is. This is where the ARPA gave us $5 million. So we had it in our hand, and then we were spending money out of it. So it's easy to follow that because you know your balance and you know what you spent. The other one's harder with what you started with, what you spent, what you submitted, what you got back, because what you submitted and what you got back are two different numbers entirely, and what the balance is. So I'll work with Paul and we'll come up with that.
Sure.
All right, let's keep moving.
Yeah, and just real quick on that too, in your report, if you go to the sections, again, you'll have a revenue section, expenditure section, you'll have a revenue under capital project. So each capital project is listed there under revenues, and you will see the money that's received in. Then under the expenditures, you'll see what goes out. So we don't put it in the revenue until we receive it. So that's why your capital projects will always run into the negative till the revenue gets reimbursed. But that is in the report. It's just, it sounds like you want to codify it a little better so you can see it or easily go through it. So
Yeah, I want to make it very simple, very simple.
Since you brought it up, Joe, I don't want to slow down the process here, but you remember when we borrowed money from the water fund for the purchase of the Stetson property? Then we put the money back in.
Yeah.
Well, now we're putting a tower there. Will we not take it back out?
No, we didn't. No, we gave the money back because we couldn't do it unless we refunded that money. Remember, the money that I think bought the Stetson property was water money because they were going to build a tower on it 400 years ago. So it was bought with like $200,000, $250,000. And in order to move it to do something else that property, we had to pay the water fund, say $200,000.
I just thought I'd bring it up so we can see where that stands. Because I feel like
Well, that was
the
paid
general
back.
fund is now owed at $200,000.
No, okay, maybe we didn't explain that one correctly. In 1948 or whenever, they bought that hill, say for $200,000 from the water fund.
Right. To put a tower up.
No, I'm sorry, from the general fund. And a few years ago, we decided we wanted to use that for something besides water. No, I'm right. I was right the first time. They bought it with water money, and then we decided that we wanted to use it for something besides water, so we had to have the general fund pay the water fund because there's two separate businesses. And we did that, and that evened it up right there. That we owed it to them before we even showed up in this town.
You're probably right, but since my memory on where this P went, I was kind of hoping that maybe we could get just dum, 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 and this is how it all balanced out, the 200,000.
Well, once we paid them back, we were even. Once we paid it, I don't remember the amount, it was like 200, 250. It was even. Dan and Janet probably remember that from way back. But I promise we were even.
Joe,
Anita was part of that. You remember, don't you? A little bit, maybe?
I wasn't here when you purchased the property,
No.
but I remember that you did repay the
Right.
water impact fee fund out of the general fund.
To even it up so
To
we
make
could use
sure,
the land.
right, because
for
you weren't
something.
going to use it
Yeah.
for the water, and yet you had used impact fee money, so we needed to make sure that
Right.
was repaid, and it was.
Exactly, okay.
And the fact that now we're putting a water tower on that property doesn't have anything
No.
to do with it. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Joe, since you mentioned age 1948, it has been brought to my attention that you have a birthday today.
Yes.
And I ain't gonna sing, so
Yeah.
happy birthday, Mayor.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. There's nothing more I would rather do. Okay. Okay, well, let's do the consent agenda. If you guys are okay with the minutes that are on the consent agenda, we need to make a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the
Consent agenda items.
consent agenda as presented in our binders.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay. Ayes have it. All righty, we're going to do, speaking of capital projects, a few minutes ago, we're going to go ahead and do our capital project update. If you would take that, Paul.
Sure, Council, I just wanted to give you a brief update on all the capital projects, or some of the capital projects we got going on. First, on the library, John and the crew over there have been working very hard getting stuff together. The drywall's been up, the walls have been painted. This week they put the ceiling tile grid in. So we're going to be moving to some of the smaller stuff, the electrical and air conditioning units, and some of the interior stuff here over the next month, including probably by next month the outside should be starting to wrap up as far as getting it put together. So it's moving along nicely. Of course, there'll be a long transition to get the whole library over there and everything along that line. So I never really gave you a schedule. I'm not going to, but it's ahead of that schedule I never gave you. So it's looking good. So again, I think I've toured with each of you recently. I've walked every one of the council members through the library and kind of given you updates, and I'll continue to do that as we go along on that. So on the water stuff, so our engineers are working on finishing up that facility plan for that $13 million grant that we have. I'm hoping to have that done by March. Is that probably reasonable, Scott? In March. Then once that is done, that'll be turned into DEP and EPA for approval, and then we'll be able to actually go back to February and reimburse some of the costs to the town all the way back to February of last year, which will bring a couple $100,000 probably back to the town engineering fees. Then in addition, we'll be able to go ahead and start bidding out the water tower, which the plans are at 95% on that, and the redundant well that we have for that. So things are progressing along. We did, as you remember, we met at a couple meetings ago and kind of talked about other things to do in town, such as looping and upsizing some of the lines and replacing some hydrants. So I'll be coordinating with them to kind of get that on the schedule so we can maybe get that bid toward the end of the year. Next is the stormwater projects. As you know in your council packet, there's Lakeside Storm is up for your consideration for a contractor. So depending on how you move on that, we'll probably get that started here in the next month or two. In addition, I'll be working with our engineers to finish up the Truscott Park, Porter area First Street Storm project on that. And with approval of the facility plan for storm, we'll have to do a whole new facility plan to get approved by DEP and EPA for that $19 million in grant money we have for stormwater projects. And I'll go into that in a little more detail when we get over to that 19 million. Hopefully we'll get that done maybe by April or May, and then be able to start really going full bore on some of the projects we talked about. And the last thing I wanted to tell you about, it was about spring of last year, and I never updated the council on this. I was just talking with Chuck about this, and I think the mayor mentioned it to me a couple of months ago and asked me about it. Last year we talked about purchasing a spare motor for our well that's up on the hill there on the tower. And last fiscal year we actually did get that purchase, and we have it in up on the hill there in storage in case we have a major breakdown or something went out with that motor. So we do have that replacement in place. So I just want to bring you up to date on that. That's all I have, unless you got any questions.
Not to cause any problems, but how about the shaft going down in, the bearings on that? That was one of the things that popped up. You just made me remember 4 or 5 years ago, because we were wanting to put the new motor in stock. It was the shaft that was another problem.
Sure.
That could down us for a long time.
Sure. So yeah, actually, both of the wells have been down a long time, and when visiting with our engineer, one of the things we talked about doing, we're going to build another redundant well out there on the hill. Once we get that well up and going, there's a good likelihood that we can put in that grant, because again, it's for hardening. We may be able to pull the old wells out, rebuild the shafts, and make them better hardened for future disasters if we can make that work in the grant. We'll do our best to do that. But what I'd like to do is get that redundant well going first. And yeah, both of them probably do need to be pulled, and the well casing checked and everything along that line while we got them pulled. We just want to make sure when we pull that one, this one's not enough to kind of keep up with water if we did have a fire going in town. So we want to make sure we kind of get that taken care of first, or get the other water tank in before we pull them. But yeah, that's a good point, Mayor. They're probably due to be pulled.
Yeah, and you got to go through the roof, so you got to have the equipment to do that too.
Correct.
So that's a problem.
Correct.
All right. Any questions? All right, we'll move on to Section 7A. This is the Resolution 2025-155, if you would, please, Anita.
A resolution of the Town of Montverde, Florida, approving the Clean Water State Revolving Fund Planning, Design, and Construction Loan Agreement for WW 351330, which provides for 100% loan forgiveness in the amount of $19,823,318, authorizing the town manager to execute the loan agreement, directing the town manager to carry out the terms of the loan agreement, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date.
Go ahead.
Sure. So, Mayor and Council, as you recall, I told you at the last meeting, our engineers have reached out to DEP, and we're working with them. So this is the money we were given for the sanitary sewer. Council, obviously, when that moved forward with that, said to go ahead and give the money back. The engineers who have a relationship with some of the grant people at DEP start the conversation, and they've been communicating with me. Long story short, DEP has now allowed us to take that entire $19 million and put it to Montverde stormwater projects, the entire amount. So that'll be a huge thing for the town to help kind of work on the lakes and our stormwater. The next thing you'll see is obviously the facility plan. So we have to go through and show how these projects meet the criteria set up by EPA, which is a much higher bar than honestly the normal stormwater projects. So we'll be working through those. But there is a short kind of window to spend this. I think it's 27 is what we have in there, somewhere in the 27 range. Yeah. So, but you know, it's a lot of money to design and engineer and get out the door in basically 2 years. So. We'll keep you apprised and keep you up to date on this as we go forward, but definitely would recommend your approval on this one.
I do have a question.
Sure.
I was reading the contract late this afternoon, and it keeps referring the $19 million to wastewater. It doesn't. I can't find. Maybe I have the wrong contract. Maybe I got copied the original one we had, but. I got about halfway through 1 million pages and decided I couldn't find stormwater.
I can second that. Yeah, I'm yellow everywhere.
Mr. Mayor, it's like it says on like you know, the first few pages, page 1, second paragraph. It specifically says wastewater pollution control facility.
Is that's in the agreement that DEP sent? That's where you're referencing that language.
It's right here.
Clean Water State
It's in the
Revolving Fund
contract.
Planning, Design, Construction Loan Agreement.
Yeah, it's actual contract, you guys. And I thought maybe I got the wrong contract.
No, it's possible. I mean, they don't. DEP doesn't use those interchangeably, but there are 2 SRF programs. There's drinking water and clean water. Wastewater and stormwater both fall under the clean water. So it may be may be just a vestige of the old. This is strictly for stormwater. There's no wastewater involved in this.
But it doesn't say stormwater.
Yeah, I mean, if that came from DEP, and that needs to be.
Well, that's why I'm thinking maybe we table this for right now, and you guys look into this problem, because I mean I read a lot of it, and there's no stormwater stuff, and it made me a little bit, you know, nervous about getting involved in it. Here, you want to do it? Want this?
Let me take a look here.
I meant to talk to Paul about it before the meeting, but I forgot all about it, so just now. But I thought maybe I got you saying that because it's the only explanation I could have.
Yeah, we'll have to run that down with DEP again. That contract came from DEP. You're correct in that it should all reference stormwater.
So why don't we do this on this topic? We're going to meet next week, right?
The 28th of January, I think is what we were looking.
Is this going to hurt this project at all to wait till the 28th for you guys to have enough time to look at this?
Not from my standpoint. I mean, we'll have to. We'll bring this up with DEP tomorrow.
Is it okay with council? I feel a lot better if we get this defined before we move forward with it. Is it going to mess you guys up at all, Paul?
Yeah, hang on 1 second here. I'm trying to see what Morgan sent me real quick. If you give me just 1 minute.
I mean, if DEP uses the vocabulary interchangeably, then why wouldn't I see stormwater in here somewhere?
No, he's saying
no. Yeah, they shouldn't be using wastewater and stormwater interchangeably. Clean water refers to both, but it should not say wastewater in that agreement.
Yes, it says.
I don't remember it saying clean water either, so I don't know. It could be just
I'm not going to vouch for what they did, but they had an agreement with you guys that said wastewater, and they didn't go in and replace every place that it said that before. Because the form of the agreement is exactly the same.
So we can't okay the contract.
Understood.
That's what I'm getting at. Okay.
You want to table next week?
We're going to table it for 2 weeks, if that's okay. Is that all right, Anita?
waiting to, I think Paul just wants
Yeah,
to
go
make
on.
sure that Morgan's email didn't say we have to return the document by a certain date. So if you could just bear with us for a moment.
Well, if we have to, let's call a meeting before. If we have to get back together in 2 or 3 days, we get back together, but we obviously can't approve it right now. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's all over.
Yeah, it's fine. So we'll bring it back at another meeting here.
And we have to move it up, just let us know and we'll rock and roll with it.
Yeah, I mean, if the error came from the agreement with DEP, they'll certainly give you grace to get that fixed before they require you to execute that, I would think.
All right. Well, we sure appreciate them giving us $19 million.
Yeah, so we're in good shape to do that.
It's
We just-
20 million, it's 19.8, it's $20 million. So, okay, so the first two things are kind of be put to the side, right, A and B?
Yeah, and I mean, when you take it a little bit further into the document, they begin to define fiscal sustainability plan.
Can you, I'm
plan-
sorry.
Fiscal sustainability plan, planning activities, all of that is a definition of a sewer system. And it doesn't say wastewater to me, but if DEP will clarify all of that and say yes, then I would be okay with it,
Yeah.
but I do want the clarification.
Yep, understood. Does it say, it says wastewater? Just,
You
again,
can have my copy
The
if you want.
title is clean water,
Yeah.
but the project number is WW, which is typically
Yeah.
wastewater, but sometimes the stormwater has
Yeah.
SW, and sometimes I've seen it
Yeah, okay.
otherwise.
yeah, we can get that
So-
clarified.
Yeah, and again, for me, the biggest red flag is that it doesn't say in here anywhere stormwater. It's not mentioned
Okay.
at all.
All right, well, I just knocked an hour off of this meeting.
That would have been done in 5 minutes.
All right, so that's it. We're
All right, so
tabling
let's see.
that, right?
So we're not going to do 2025-157 either then, right?
Yeah, those two I think are.
Yeah, those two are
The
on
other
hold.
one I would recommend that you delay until that time also is the contract with Blackwater Construction.
That's a separate funding
It's a
source.
separate funding.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's, that's the lakeside.
Correct.
Okay.
And that
Right.
says stormwater.
But that's
Right,
the
I just wanted to
lakeside.
make sure that funding wasn't being used for that construction
No.
No,
contract.
No, those
no,
are two
that's we got the
Okay.
the 1.8 for that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're good for
All righty, well,
160.
we can move forward and talk about the storm.
So if
the
we could have
lakeside.
a motion to table Resolution 2025-155 and 2025-157.
As she said it, I need a
I-
second.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Against, say nay. Okay, we got that one done. All right, how about we read 2025-160?
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Montverde, Florida, awarding contract to Blackwater Construction Services LLC resulting from the town's invitation to bid for stormwater improvements issued October 7th, 2024, approving the conformed agreement between the Town of Montverde, Florida and Blackwater Construction Services LLC in an amount not to exceed $723,021 for Montverde Stormwater Improvements Project being funded through a Florida EPA grant and Lake County Water Authority Stormwater Grant, authorizing the town manager to execute the agreement and provide for an effective date. And I would just note there are some statutory provisions that need to be added that you've seen previously, so if you just allow us to attach those as well.
A point of order on that one. Would we approve this when we have not actually approved the grant money to come?
So this is coming from the $4 million DEP grant. That is
Okay,
not
it's
a
not
part
the
of the
same- not
19.
the 19
No,
million.
different pot of money.
Okay.
Yep. So we have a total of a little over 23 million in stormwater money for projects. So this is the original one.
Okay, so we put this out to bid,
Correct.
got that back.
We received 2 bids back, one for $1,061,000 and one for $723,000. Honestly, they're both a little bit high from what they should be. And the 723 is not out of bounds. I would have liked seeing that 100,000 cheaper, but that's kind of the world we live in right now with the bidding and the contractors.
And that's Lakeside all the way down, right?
So it's Lakeside from 7th to 3rd Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And that's only taking out one tree, I think it was, right?
Just one tree, then the kind of the dead palms that are there by the park, those are
Yeah.
coming out. So
The
a
oak
couple
trees, it
of
was just one
Yeah,
oak.
just one,
And
correct.
the road was a little crooked as you got down that way, right?
It did. We tried to veer around the trees. I think it ended up being 22 foot wide is all that we could get out there with the right of way that we had there with the ribbon curb. And then, of course, the stormwater improvements were the main thing, is getting the water to kind of drain and improve the stormwater quality through there.
And anybody who's driven on Lake Street knows that 2 cars going down the street is tight, so it's going to be widened. Yeah,
Yep.
and we're going to have more cars going down there soon. So, okay.
Yeah. And this entire amount is 100% grant funded with no city match, just for your information.
Let me open it up to the public. Anybody want to talk about this one? Okay, come on back to the council. What you guys think?
As long as we got the money.
Yeah, I didn't find anything that I thought was objectable.
I saw the other one was almost twice as much, the other bid.
Correct.
Wow. So we're confident this bid will be okay?
Yeah, this is within what we had estimated. I mean, with the contingencies that we estimated even a couple of years ago, this is right in the ballpark of what we expected. As Paul said, you obviously like to see them come in at a little bit lower, but that is the kind of the environment that we're in right now. And there's, maybe that gets a little cheaper in a few years, but you only have, there's a timeline on the grant money that's paying for this. So, it passed our evaluation of what we would expect based on the design.
So Paul, in this packet, there's a page in here before we get into section, the double lot section 4505, where it shows the, this one right here, the schedule, that'll be updated. That shows all the dates. This was, I'll pass it to Anita. We can just update that, right? Once we
Yeah,
get it done.
correct.
that's-
Yeah, because
that's one
once we
item.
give them notice to proceed, so we have to kind of go through and get all their information assurance stuff, and I probably won't start them till after I get through some of my vacation time as well. So we're probably looking at March, just late March.
Yeah, I
to
don't
kinda
think the
get going.
timeline changes. Those dates were based on an assumed notice to proceed. I think maybe it was December when
Yeah,
when the
that was
timeline
December,
started.
so I'm just
I
figuring-
I think they've anticipated
3
about a 4-month construction timeline total.
And they went basically December to April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so if everybody's okay with it, we need to move forward.
I so move resolution 2025-160 be approved for contractual.
We got a first and need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay.
Public comment, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Mayor.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I did it.
We already did that.
I
Did
did.
you?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, yep. The first time I did that right for you. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say
Aye.
nay. Ayes have it. All righty, move on to this last one on this page, 2024-156, if you would, please, Anita.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Montverde, Florida, granting a variance from Section 10-52 in Chapter 10 of the Montverde Land Development Code from the rear yard setback for the real property located at 17632 9th Street, Montverde, Florida, owned by Giovanni Cuncha, providing for conditions and providing for an effective date. This variance request is to deviate from the town's adopted land development code, in this case from complying with the town's setback. For a shed, it is a quasi-judicial hearing. It is not a legislative action or policy-setting decision, so your decision must be consistent with the comprehensive plan adopted by the Town Council and the Land Development Code and supported by competent substantial evidence. The code sets forth the standards to be considered for granting a variance, and you must apply the information presented to those standards that are in the code. I believe Mr. Parks will go through what those standards are. Because it's quasi-judicial, you're required to disclose on the record any communications outside of the public hearing concerning the applicant's request or any site visits that you may have conducted. You must disclose the substance of the conversation, who you spoke with, and if it's in writing, you can provide a copy tonight for us to put in the record. And at this time, it would be appropriate if any of you have had ex parte communication that you take the time now to disclose those on the record.
Would driving by at 4:41 in the morning on Saturday checking for lights that are out consist, once you drove past that piece of property, consist
If you
of-
went there to look at
No,
it in relation to the variance request.
I was looking at street lights, so.
Okay, no.
So, I didn't see anybody at
Thank you for sharing
4:41 in the morning, so, okay.
Anyone else have anything to disclose? Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. Alrighty, let's open it up to the public. Anybody who'd like to talk about this? This is a house up on, what was that, 8th Street, right? 9th Street. And I don't know if you've been up that way, but it's, you go up and there's a blue house on the right, and they want to put a big giant shed in the back, and they want to not follow the setbacks, and they're asking for some leniency on it.
Mr. Mayor, is it okay, Mr. Parks, just kind of do
Oh,
a
I'm
brief
sorry, go
description
ahead.
of it real quick?
Yeah,
Thank
please.
you.
I'll introduce this one, Mayor. This house is located at the corner of 9th and Cherry Avenue. There's the site plan, or the aerial of it. The property is zoned medium density, so the rear yard setback is 25 feet, but Mr. Cunha would like to move the shed back to be a distance of 7.5 feet from the rear property line to match the side property line, which is also 7.5.
What is the setback on it?
25 feet on the rear, 7.5 on the side.
And if I read this correctly, one of the reasons there's the tree is in the way as well?
Originally, when he started the process, he was going to put the shed on in the area directly behind the driveway. But after some discussion, he has decided to move it to the other side of the yard.
It's a big shed.
20 by 30. So there's other requirements too, that it matches the house, and so he would comply with all of that.
Yeah, he says he'll do all that.
Staff agreed with it, right?
No.
There's the 6 criterion that are listed here. The first 2 do not meet the criterion. The remaining 4 do. And I can read those if you'd like me to.
Yeah, please.
If you would.
Okay. Criteria number 1, that special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, and which are not applicable to other lands, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district. Such on-site conditions may include, but are not limited to, topography, preservation of vegetation, access, vehicular and pedestrian safety, and preservation of scenic views. And the second one is that the special conditions and circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant.
Sorry. Our code does say it needs to meet all the criteria to be considered for a variance.
And
No residential complaints or problems?
Not that we're aware of.
And our code says it must meet all of them, and we don't meet 2 of them.
Correct.
If the code says we have to meet all of them and we don't meet 2 of them, then I would have to say no.
And if the applicant's here, they have an opportunity to come forward
Yeah, I
as
would
well.
like to hear from the homeowner.
Is the applicant here?
Yep, come
Come
on
on
up.
up.
All right.
Giovanni Cunha, 17632 9th Street. So is there any questions for me?
What?
Present your case.
Well, it's a shed. Very simple, right? I'm just trying to move stuff from my garage. So it's packed with a lot of garbage. I used to live in a 4,600 square feet house. Moved to this one, which is about 2,000 square feet. So I'm just trying to get the shed in the back so that I'm able to get more space, right, for my garage and move this stuff over there. Ideally, as originally, I think you mentioned, right, I wanted to have the shed right behind the driveway, and that was not allowed because of the setback requirement, right? I would not have enough space. I would have to actually bring down the tree, which is historical. I didn't want to do that. So the alternative that we found was actually to try to get the shed on the other side of my land, right? So right on the back, right on the corner top on the right. Yeah, so right there, it's actually a little bit more behind it. So that doesn't really impact anybody's view. There's the street that goes on the right, Cherry Avenue. That's where I originally wanted to have it. So there's nothing really that conflicts with my neighbors. And as far as I understand, right, I mean, it shouldn't really be a problem to install it, right? So the idea is to make the shed very nice looking, just like, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to stop by lately by my property, but I've been doing a lot of renovations, so I'm doing a lot of investment in the property. I want to make it, livable for me, for my family, and hopefully I can make that shed, just to be able to accommodate the things that I need to accommodate over there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You had said there was 2 things that he did not do, or that didn't meet the standard?
2 out of the 6 criterion are not being met.
Can we pull that slide back up? Thank you.
That's why he's asked for the variance.
So it's the first 2 that we're lacking, right?
Correct.
And we have no objections from any of the letters that were sent out to all of the surrounding neighbors and people and all that?
Not
As far
that
as
we're
we know?
aware of.
Yeah, I have not received any that I'm aware of.
And he's still gonna be 7.5 back from the back, and how far from the side?
7.5.
7.5.
Okay.
Yeah, the back is 25, actually.
The back's supposed to be 25.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
so
the
he would be
7.5.
7.5 if he did the back.
So that's all that we're losing is just the back part, right?
Changing,
Correct.
yeah. Can you put 2 small sheds side by side?
I wish.
For me, the problem is okayness opens the used door to a whole bunch of other people coming with the same request that we can't refuse. And
Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid as much as possible having to put a variance, for the tree, right?
yeah, I've been sitting there too long and confused a lot of people already myself. So,
But the shed is there now.
No, there's no shed
Oh,
there.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, my neighbor actually has a shed right next and behind my property, right? So,
yeah. See, they'll come back, people come and say, we want to put a 2-car garage in their backyard, and, it's as big as your shed, or whatever, a little bit bigger, and they're having a fit that we're not okaying that, and we okayed yours.
You put it on a concrete slab?
the idea was to do pavers. Well, under the shed would be a concrete slab, right? But I was thinking about doing some pavers that would, like a walkaway, right, from the shed to my house. So.
What's the topology of your backyard? Has it sloped?
Yeah, it's a little sloped. I don't know how many inches.
Would you build that up?
Yeah, I would have to level it up, right, a little bit.
And do we have the height of your shed? How tall is it?
I think, it's 12. Yeah, it's the standard. So it's definitely not gonna be as high as my property, right? It's gonna be about the same height as my property. And it's a 20 by 30 shed, as I mentioned.
So the option is it would go where the tree is, which means you'd have to remove the heritage tree.
Yeah.
Or put it where you're proposing to put
Yeah, again, the thought process back there is, again, I'm not affecting any neighbor. I'm not affecting the street, right, at Cherry Avenue. So yeah, I mean, again, initially my hope was to do it on the driveway, right? But because I needed to have the 25 feet, I was told, well, that's not going to be possible, right, because of the street. So okay, so let me do it on the back, right, towards on the other side. This way, that would not be a problem. It will not even be visible, right? If you're driving by my house, it will be barely be visible from 9th Street to see that shed. So
the only thing stopping you from actually needing this variance is the fact that you have the tree there. Is that accurate?
well, yeah, I mean, initially, yes, right? I wanted to put it there, right? But because I needed 25 feet on the side, it was not possible, right? So the variance now is the setback on the rear needs to be 25, and I'm asking 7.5. That's the only difference. So I'm still going to have 7.5 in the back. That's the only difference, instead of 25. And again, I don't have that much space, right? I don't want to put a shed in the middle of my land because I want to have my kids playing soccer. I want to have my kids doing other stuff. And if I put the shed right in the middle of my land or my lot, that's going to take a lot of space for, again, in my view, it's unnecessary, right?
Well, I do like the fact that aesthetically your shed will match the house.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to look exactly the same, and yeah, it's again, I just did a big renovation on the exterior of my house. I put hardy boards all over the place. It looks very nice, and I just wanted to put another a shed that would match, would be very similar, in terms of design, color, and look and feel. So, very modern, like farmhouse style.
Behind your property is another house.
Say again?
There's another house behind your property?
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but when you read the 5 or 6 requirements for a variance, in my mind, the most important one is the owner didn't cause the problem himself. It says that specifically. You are causing the problem yourself. You're buying too big of a shed.
I don't know if I would agree with that. I don't know if I would agree with that statement.
I
And the
understand
reason
that,
I
but
say
that's
is
what the
'cause,
rule says.
Well, it's a tree. That's made by, that's, God planted that tree. And he didn't plant the tree. If he planted a tree, I would agree with that statement. I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. I mean, the tree's
I would
there.
agree with
I mean, it has been there for many years. And
What's the purpose of that big of a shed?
what's the purpose? I have a lot of stuff in my garage, and my 2 cars, they're currently out because of that.
So 2 sheds can't work?
How is that going to work? I have no...
Side by side, 25 feet from the back.
Again, that's going to take most of my space in the back.
No, over behind the tree, you're saying the shed's too long to get behind the tree, right? So put 2 smaller sheds side by side.
I don't think that's going to be that's going to work out. Again, I have evaluated together with my wife, with architects, all different options, and it's either the shed in the place where the tree is right now, or on the side that I'm requesting the variance. So, unfortunately, all other options are not functional. And again, you have to think about. I'm a family, right? I have my wife. I have 2 kids. I want the kids to play in the backyard. And if you put the sheds right in the middle of my land, that's going to take away, the possibility of them to enjoy the property. So,
Well, I mean, it's obvious where I'm going to vote, so you guys, what do you want to do?
Do we have public comment?
Well, the issue of the size of the shed is he's legal with his size, correct?
It's what?
His size is not the problem. It's the location.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize for discussion. I don't think we had public comment on this one before you guys do the discussion.
Yeah, we better get public comment. Are you all done?
I'm
Go ahead and
done.
sit for a minute and let me ask the public what they want to do. You guys want to talk about it? Well, stay right there then.
All right.
Okay, we'll bring it back. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Jim?
Am I saying something improper when I say it's not the size of the shed, it's the location? That's
Yeah,
the
it's
discussion
too
point.
long, the shed.
No, it's not that it's too long, right? Again,
It's
it's
within
the,
code.
it's the rear,
Setback.
yeah, the setback, right? So per your code, you request 25 feet in the back, and I'm requesting to put it 7.5, right? Because again, I want to use the most of in the back of my house so that my kids can play in the backyard. That's all.
What's the measurements of the shed again?
20 by 30.
20 by 30?
Yes.
And 12
It's
feet
20
wide.
foot wide?
It's 20 foot wide, yes.
That's 600 square foot shed. Wow.
I mean, it's a big shed.
That's
I
a big
I
shed.
agree with you on that.
You
Okay.
could definitely get 2 sheds,
But-
but
That is 12 foot high, too.
It's within, it's.
you guys want to talk about it some more, or you want to vote? It's up to you.
Lisa, question for you on page 3 of 7 of the staff report. A little confusing.
Okay.
Page 3,
The actions,
yes.
these are your choices for
Well, but
what you decide.
I was looking at the very bottom. Planning and zoning approved it on December 11th, correct?
They did,
They did. As he's requesting?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
And the main thing from staff is there is an alternative for him to put it. It's the location where he doesn't want to put it, so it doesn't fall into the criteria, is why we have that recommendation.
But it was approved by planning and zoning, right?
Or they gave a recommendation for approval, correct?
Yes, come on down.
Yeah, come on down. I'll take it. Thanks.
Good evening, Annette Parkhurst. I'm on 2nd Street, 17331. I'm looking at the variances. They're saying that he does not meet the criteria. First of all, the second one, he didn't create that tree. He's trying to save that tree. The first one, he's trying to preserve vegetation. So it looks like he does meet all 6. And he's trying to beautify it, make it nice. We want our residents here to use their properties in a nice way, and that's what he's trying to do and keep Montverde nice. So that's my opinion. It's definitely, he's meeting all 6. He's preserving the vegetation, and he didn't plant that tree. It's been there, and he's trying to save the tree, so good for you. Good luck.
Still want to work with the trees.
I will also add, if it's helpful, that you are able to make recommendations and with conditions too for a variance.
What would be an example?
I mean, it could be additional screening, landscaping, something to that extent.
We don't have any like letters or anything from any of his neighbors that are complaining about this, correct?
No, we don't.
Okay.
The main thing you got to, I would always say you establish the guidelines. Obviously, it's your choice how you want to interpret or receive that. About 30 months ago, the council did have the same scenario, and the council made someone move a shed for the same scenario for the setbacks on the backyard, because they were only 7.5 feet, and it was 25 foot on the back. That was over by your place, Mr. Lay, if you recall.
I remember it well.
So, you just always got to kind of take that into consideration. Whatever you do, you need to kind of think that's what you want to do going forward, or we could obviously make some changes to the code if that's something you want to do in the future, if you
Right, and
decide
that's
you want to move
over
forward.
the years, we've told people that put sheds up, they have to move them. And now they're going to watch us tell him to put a shed in a place that we told the other guy not to do.
But that
Isn't
one
this
was a
the
little
reason why we're
different.
doing
He
the
didn't
variance?
ask for a permit. In fact, he did it contrary to what was asked. So he had a little.
Well, that was a
more
code
mitigating
enforcement
circumstances.
issue, but yes, that ultimately came
Yeah, I mean, I'm
forward
trying
as a
to do
variance.
things right here, right? That's why I'm going through I tried to do a permit first, then I had to go through the variance process, so I'm trying to do everything accordingly, right? I mean, following the rules, that's why.
This was after the fact situation. So we were less tolerant.
Yeah, a lot of people put sheds in, they really don't know there's just rules, that you need a permit for it. Well, you do.
Well, look, everybody done checking it around, because I'm gonna make a proposition. I say we approve resolution number 24156.
I'll
Got a
second
motion
that.
to approve. I need a second.
I second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
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 On say no. On negative say no. No. You got it.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we get a roll call vote, because it was difficult to tell who
All right, I'm
voted
sorry.
how?
Just do a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lay,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Womack,
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Morganelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Hartle,
Yes.
Mayor Wynkoop.
No. All right. See, we don't agree on everything.
And I don't know, just because I like to talk, I think that, for me personally, the 2 points that swayed me, I agree. He's got a shed, it's his property. Personally, why can't he put it where he wants? But the fact is, we do have whatever it turned out to be, 7 or 8 points. And we do open Pandora's box, because I guarantee you next month there's going to be somebody in here wanting the same thing. And the only reason, myself personally, yes, I'm in favor of keeping the tree. I would rather grant him the variance than to see the tree come down. And the fact that planning and zoning has already done the legwork and passed this up. And he came forward and he spoke on his own behalf. So things like that matter for me when it comes to council things that you guys are trying to do. Come up and state your case. I can read what's on the screen and I can read right here, but that doesn't tell me your story. So that's all I'm saying.
I agree with you, Carol. What I don't like is people who hide behind and do it and then come forth only when caught. So I'd rather they come up here and stand there and say what they
Agreed.
want to do.
Agreed. He followed the right path. He jumped through all the hoops. You did exactly what you were supposed to do.
All righty. Great. Let's keep it rolling. If you would, please, let's do 2024-43.
An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Montverde, Lake County, Florida, amending the Town of Montverde's comprehensive plan pursuant to 163.3187 Florida statutes by amending the comprehensive land use plan designation from Town of Montverde Single Family Medium to Town of Montverde Office Residential Commercial Work on the future land use map for the herein described property, consisting of approximately 0.365 plus or minus acres, providing for severability and Scrivener's errors, directing the town manager to amend said comprehensive plan, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the forwarding of this ordinance to the State of Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, and providing for an effective date. This is a legislative action. It's policy-setting decision of the council. A change in the future land use designation must be consistent with the other elements in the town's comprehensive plan. The town's decision to approve or deny is given great deference. However, your decision must relate to a legitimate public purpose, such as health, safety, and welfare of the public. And with that, I think Mr. Parks or Ms. Bustow will give the staff report.
Okay, good evening. This project is located at 17510 County Road 455. The home, incidentally, was built in around 1900, so it's a historic home. The requested action, the applicant seeks a future land use map amendment. As Ms. Anita has indicated, this first part of this is one of 2 applications. This is for the future land use map amendment, and the next part would be the zoning request that goes along with the future land use map amendment, if you approve it. So this applicant seeks a future land use map amendment and rezoning of approximately 0.365 acres from single-family medium, future land use and single-family medium density R1M, that's 4 units per acre, zoning district office residential commercial district, the ORC, otherwise known as the ORC, the ORC, future land use and the zoning district. I will go ahead and read for you right out of your comprehensive plan the intent of the office residential commercial land use designation. Policy 1-2.3.3. The ORC, the ORC designation is intended to provide a mix of compatible office, residential, and low-intensity commercial activities for the purpose of creating a viable small-town central business district purposefully designed to portray a traditional town green community center accommodating pedestrian needs over automobile use. acceptable development mix within the ORC. The ORCs shall allow single-use activities and buildings as well as residential uses on the second floor of commercial, obviously, if there's a second floor, and office buildings. Acceptable uses of the ORC obviously would include your single-family, buildings or structures or uses maintained or operated by the town of Montverde, home occupations within single-family units, office as well as specialty retail. And so that number 5 out of that policy is why we have recommended approval for the land use change. It does fit within a specialty retail use, albeit some say that could be vague and a little subjective. This is what we have determined to be consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, the request. Also, in other visioning efforts with the town over the years to create more of small business, the small town feel within the Montverde, it's actually built into your other element of the comprehensive plan, the economic prosperity element as well, to promote these kinds of small businesses. So you have some crossover consistency with other elements in the comp plan, meaning that as well. So we have recommended approval of this future land use map amendment request. The applicant is here, of course, I believe, and can present the case. They did so to the Planning and Zoning Board. One other thing to note is that, because these questions have come up, what are you going to sell? Could it be alcohol that you're going to sell? Is there enough parking? What is the lighting going to look like? What is the paint going to look like? Anything like that. All fair questions for anybody that's concerned about what's going on, and you may have. But just realize that if you do approve the future land use map amendment and then you subsequently approve the zoning right after this, the applicant would still need to go through a major site planning process, would have to present it, which actually comes back to you for approval, and would have to have all of our questions answered, including engineering, legal, and planning and zoning as well.
Doing one does not guarantee the other.
That is correct. Yes, you can have an ORC designation, and it may never meet site plan criteria.
And I did ask Mr. Parks just on that to meet with the applicant, because with the size of the lot, it's going to be very limited of what uses could be there with parking. So there will be some challenges with site plan. We don't know what that is. But as you make this consideration, I know the applicant will probably come up and state their use. However, this is a land use change to ORC, and I left the ORC zoning on your desk. So when you approve this, just because they say they're going to do that, you need to recognize they're approving for anything that could fall under ORC on that. So just make it, when you make that change, because she could sell the property tomorrow, somebody else has a different thought or a different view. So make sure you take a look at what's allowed under ORC and that you're comfortable with that as you go through the process, because that is the change to ORC, not a particular single use.
Sean,
and one other question, I'm sorry, Councilmember, just too, I forgot to say that, because it came up at the last hearing, about why not commercial one, C1. The C1 is a much more intensive use, so they would, this is sort of in between that.
the town doesn't have a historical, like a lot of towns do for historical buildings. Would this qualify, since it's built over 100 years ago, under a historic, as to what they can do to the facade, change it around? Is that an issue?
Yeah, we do have, if there's any kind of change that's proposed that comes up, again, assuming you approve this, that comes up during the site planning process, it would have to be consistent. The site plan, anything that you do, any development decision always has to be consistent with the comp plan. So even a site plan does. So it would have to be consistent with the archaeological and cultural resources element of your comp plan, as well as some of the codes that are already in place.
Looking at the orca sheet that you guys gave us when we came in, under B, point number 6, just lists office. And then under C, C2, office development, which requires a site plan approval. Is that the only difference between office and office development, is one requires a site plan and a conditional use?
That's correct. Office meaning a smaller office. Office development, if it's going to be a larger development, it would require the site plan approval.
So kind of like a home office versus a business office?
Right.
If I'm correct, though, everything in ORC would require a site plan to come back to council.
It does anyway.
Because we have that in
Yeah.
our code in another section, so everything's coming back.
It's still going to come back, and zoning clearances even beyond that, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, I'll open it up to the public. You guys want to talk about it?
And Mayor, the applicant may be here.
Yeah, I
too,
was
so-
going to do them next.
Sorry.
All righty, applicant, you want to talk?
Hello, good evening. All right, I have a letter. Thank you for the opportunity to present my request for rezoning the property at 17510 County Road 455. As a longtime resident, I care deeply about preserving our town's unique character while fostering thoughtful growth. This rezoning request is not about change for the sake of change, but about making a practical and responsible decision that aligns with Montverde's values and long-term vision. The property, built in 1900, will maintain its historic home-like appearance, ensuring it remains consistent with Montverde's small-town charm. The integrity of the structure will be preserved, honoring the town's heritage. The property is situated on County Road 455, ideally positioned to serve as a transitional space between residential and non-residential areas. Rezoning would allow this property to contribute meaningfully to the community while respecting its surroundings. This rezoning request directly supports the town's comprehensive plan by promoting sustainable community-focused growth. It enables thoughtful development that balances Montverde's cherished small-town atmosphere with its evolving needs. This decision also demonstrates a commitment to smart land use, where properties are utilized in ways that maximize their potential while preserving the character and intent of the surrounding area. This rezoning isn't just about the present, it's about Montverde's future. It's about preserving what makes our town special while creating opportunities for enrichment and connection. That's it.
And
That's
what-
how I feel about it.
Can you tell me what
did
type of
fine.
business you are planning to put in?
We're envisioning a spot that has indoor and outdoor space so the community can connect and socialize.
And what do you anticipate your maximum capacity to be?
I have no idea yet until we go through the architectural stage, the site planning, maybe 30, 40. You know, the house is not big.
That's correct.
The house is not big, so nothing huge. We don't want to do a commercial kitchen or anything like that. That's why we're going for the ORC and not a C1 designation.
And how close are you to actually, if we were to grant approval to this, when would you start this project or changeover?
I mean, I would start it as soon as possible. Of course, every month that goes by, I'm paying bills.
This is true.
But it takes time to do something like that.
It's
So
a process.
It's a process, yes. We have to go through a site planning review, and, you know, who knows if I have parking spaces to do what I want to do, but
So first
it's
of
a
many
vision.
chats we'll have.
It's a
Yeah.
vision.
Well, it's not uncommon for highways like 455 to start getting commercial. I mean, that's like 50. I mean,
Yeah,
There's
and
all houses.
It's not just starting. I mean, just south to me is all commercial. To the east of me, with the exception of the vacant lot, that's R1M, which is owned by a commercial. I think they own the strip mall there too. That owns the vacant lot next to me. So
And no neighbors complained or said anything?
We had no notices of complaints.
Notices
All righty.
My issue that I have, and just being honest, is 8th Street to me is sort of that cutoff for me for residential, commercial. That's just my feeling. And I understand south of that there, obviously,
Yeah.
there is some commercial, but north of that, that's my issue that I have with it, me personally. And we have a lot of unused commercial. We have a lot of old buildings that are sitting around and not really doing anything that are commercial. And that's not you, obviously. It's just something that I wish we would do something to help reinvigorate some of those commercials.
And maybe bringing more business, more socialization into the community will help invigorate the downtown.
I hope so for your sake.
I hope so too.
Sean, at what point, this, I might begin ahead, do we do, or do they do, like a noise and traffic type studies? 'Cause I'm concerned about noise for neighboring, for the other residentials that are around there.
We would go through that when they do the site plan approval, which again, I'll remind you, comes back to you for site plan approval.
Would we be able to approve this if we did, that if we don't approve that site plan, we can revert this back to R1? Is that something we
I
could
don't
do?
think you can do that. No, I think when you're making a zoning change, you're making it.
Okay, I'm just,
Yeah.
we can't estimate that, okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, I understand, the concerns on that and, but the site plan, I mean, essentially she's doing that part at her own risk, you get the zoning, you get the land use, you get the zoning, you may not get the site plan approval.
Correct, she may
Yeah.
not, but then she could, in theory, sell it, and.
She could sell it,
And we
and it's not a C1 though, so I would not recommend just that site to be a C1 personally, just from my planning perspective, because it is more intense.
Yeah, the uses are limited with the ORCs.
Yeah.
And Mr. Morganelli, if just so you know, in case I think you might be leading there, it is ORC, so it's office, residential, commercial. So if it doesn't develop, someone could still live there in a residential capacity. It won't lose its ability to be a home.
No, I was sort of
Sure.
saying that if we went down that road and then we don't approve something further, that she would be, she could get frustrated and sell the property if she chose to, which in theory, that would then still have the ORC designation.
Correct.
Right.
So someone could buy that at that point.
And then
Most
they
definitely.
would still have to go through the same process of the site plan.
Right, correct.
And it
And
could be a
since we're-
dental office.
It could be a dental office,
Dental office.
because I know people want dentist offices in
Yep.
South Lake.
A mattress store?
So Sean, to
No,
the west of it,
denied
what is
mattress.
that property? Just to the west of it, what's west of it?
Hardin. A Hardin property.
Okay, anything on there?
Anything what?
Structures?
Yes, his house is on the north side of his property. The northwest, actually.
Okay.
So as far away as it can be. And then directly north of my property is his storage shed. Storage barn.
I would have driven by, but then I would have been worried.
I was just gonna say, since we've kind of been interchangeably talking about the future land use designation and the zoning is a quasi judicial matter, so you would need to disclose anything if you went by the property or spoke to anyone about the matter.
Are you going to do outside seating as well?
I would like
What-
to.
that's planned. So, and I'm just sort of trying to get ahead a little bit. I know I'm getting ahead are you going to do some sort of like noise barrier on the outside, whether it's like something to block noise from carrying to other residential
Yeah,
homes?
I would like to do some kind of landscape buffer. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
I think Joe brings up a good point, and I guess maybe part of my question is, in terms of our business district, we really don't have much other direction for it to go, other than up 455. You had the school on the other side, and then you're out of the town limits for most part, so. Yeah, as a council, if we're considering expanding our downtown district, there is only really one direction to go.
But if we're looking at doing that, I do think we need, as a council, we need to talk about reinvigorating what we already have too, like some way, shape, or form, sorry.
Well, I think, like, a lot of the buildings, and I could be completely wrong, I think they are privately owned by citizens of.
Well, maybe we can do
Montverde.
some incentives or something like that. I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box.
We do a good job trying to keep those people that clean up their, yeah.
And when, stay tuned to your discussion on CRAs to answer your question on that.
Okay, thanks.
Well, it's a no-win, no-lose situation. It goes work and she doesn't get the zoning changes, then no harm, no loss. So it stops and it stays like it is. So I don't see.
Well, it would stay as ORC.
Right.
Right, not
but
as R1, right?
Yeah, it's not gonna.
So make a motion.
All right. But I'm just saying that it's not gonna hurt her, it's not gonna hurt us, it's just it's a dead end sign at the end of a road, not going any further, that's it, turn around and go back, so nothing's changed.
I know what I'd be looking for in a site plan. I think it was pretty vocal here. I think, you would know what I'm looking for in that, so,
I don't think we're losing, I mean, we still have the option, if you sell, it can still be residential. So I don't think we're losing anything. We're kind of gaining options with the rezoning because it doesn't have to be just residential at that point.
I'll agree with you on that I still think there is a definition that's different between R1 and ORC, but it can still be residential. So I'll agree on that. Someone else can make the motion, though.
Just let me, Mr. Mayor, too. So there's two decisions. There's the future land use map amendment, and that is ordinance number 2024-43, correct?
Correct.
And then there's also the 42, which is the zoning. So I'll defer to the attorney on whether you want a separate motion or for each one of those, or do them both.
We'll need a separate one, and I'll need to read the rezoning once you've voted on the 43.
All right.
Nice try.
Does it matter which one comes first?
I know we got a couple of things on the agenda, right?
That's a commission thing.
Yeah.
Does it matter which one of those items goes first?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
We need 43 to move
43 has
forward
to
first.
go, yeah.
The future land
Believe it or
use.
not, 43 goes first.
I'll give the public one more chance to talk if you want to talk.
That's right.
I mean, if this goes as a
Okay.
business, you guys are residents, this is an opportunity, up or down, yes or no?
Forever hold your peace.
Or forever hold your peace.
Yes.
I so move resolution 2024-43 be approved.
I have a
I'll
motion
second
to
it.
approve.
Outstanding. Seconded.
I got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay. You got it. All right, we'll move on to the next one on this topic, 2024-42, if you would please, Anita.
An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Montverde changing the zoning designation of real property owned by Michael and Marie Teresa K. and located at 17510 County Road 455, Montverde, Lake County, Florida, from a single-family medium-density R1M designation to ORC office residential commercial, providing for directions to the town manager, providing for severability and Scrivener's errors, providing for conflict, and setting an effective date.
All righty, thank you. I have to disclose that I did talk to the property owner directly across the street and explain to him what was going on there, just so you know. Okay, this is going to change the zoning, so that's why I have to disclose that.
I was curious, what was the thought with the neighbor across the street?
None, I just informed him.
Okay.
He asked me, I
Just an
informed him.
information. Okay, thank you.
That was it.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, just a reminder again, this is just the follow-up subsequent zoning request, same exact, pretty much by title, ORC zoning request. Comprehensive plan and zoning code for the town is pretty unique, where they're almost one and the same with the names. They can have different uses in the zoning, and it's a little more specific, but essentially, you're asking for the same zoning. A zoning
Okay.
that's pretty much the same as the comp plan.
So
And both-
we're asking for the same thing we just approved, more or less.
And both of these are first readings anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, let me open it up to the public first, if anybody wants to talk about it, so I don't miss that. Okay, we'll bring it back to the council.
Is there anything to show on the,
Can we
is
see
there
the
anything
map?
to show what we're talking about?
Do we have a map or anything?
It's the exact same thing we just looked at.
It's the same, if you want to put back the
Put that
same
back on, please.
project site, it's the
There you
same
go.
exact project, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one is the amendment for the comp plan, which is required by state statute, then this is the actual change of the zoning for the property.
Right.
To the RRC.
So,
Yeah.
the two-step process to change zoning.
Alrighty, so we're talking about changing it to the ORC zoning, bring it back to council. Council want to discuss it?
I think we already have.
Yeah,
If
it's
we're
exact-
done, then make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve 2024-42.
Have a motion, the second.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay. Ayes have it. We'll move on to ordinance 2024-44, if you would please, Anita.
An ordinance of the Town Council of the Town of Montverde, Florida, to change the zoning from Lake County Agriculture to Town of Montverde Single Family Residential PUD. for the herein described property owned by Montverde Land Co. LLC and located north of Osgood Road, west of Lake Apopka, and partially east of Kirk Island Road. Directing the town manager to amend the zoning map as provided herein after passage of this ordinance. Approving variances from town code with conditions, providing for severability, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for Scrivener's errors, and providing for an effective date. This is a quasi-judicial action. It's not legislative action or policy setting. Your decision must be consistent with the comprehensive plan and the land development code and supported by competent substantial evidence. The plan unit development zoning district allows revised standards different from what the conventional zoning districts allow to encourage creative development when the proposal demonstrates increased protection of natural resources, improved living environment, or increased efficiency in service of delivery. And there's a number of standards that we can go through if needed. But because it's quasi-judicial, you're required to disclose on the record any communications outside of the public hearing concerning the applicant's request or any investigations you conducted, such as a site visit. You must disclose the substance of the conversation, who you spoke with, and if in writing, you can provide a copy tonight for us to enter into the record. At this time, if we could go to each member and have you disclose any ex parte communications that you had concerning this rezoning.
Anybody want to raise their hand on that?
I mean, I'm familiar with where it's at. Obviously, when I walk the town, I know where it is, but other than that, I never didn't do anything beyond that.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I walk past that property every day. I look at it, but I can't say that I went over there specifically to see where stakes are or to try to envision what it would look like, just walking by.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so let's talk about this. This is the Osgood property. It was the Orange Grove. Ex-owner pulled all the trees and sold it, and the buyer has been back and forth for, I think it's going on 3 years now, I would say. About 3 years now, going back and forth. The town, looked at the original plans and working with the developer. We came to agreements over the last 3 years, and now it goes to whether we want to make it a PUD or not. Now, the 5,000 foot view on a PUD to a regular is if we don't do a PUD, then the restrictions that we already have on properties stay, and a PUD gives the council and the developer, the ability to negotiate certain things and make it what they want and what the city wants, the town wants. So this is the first step to it, is just deciding whether we want to do that or not, make it a PUD.
Sure.
Is that good, Anita?
That's correct. We did have a communication with the applicant team yesterday to review the ordinance that's in your packet, and this is first reading only. So we did not make some of the changes that we had discussions, but I can go through those with you just to bring them to your attention. But before we made any changes, obviously we wanted to hear from you. One of the things that they have requested on page 2 relates to the setbacks. Planning and Zoning Board had recommended wider lots to eliminate the 50-foot lots. Correct me.
That's correct.
Speaking of this document,
That's their staff, that's their response letter to us.
which document are we speaking of?
I'm looking at the ordinance that's in your packet,
You're on page 2, right?
and I'm on page 2 under section 2B, which is setbacks. And because the Planning and Zoning Board recommended that they remove the 50-foot lots, and the applicant agreed, they are requesting instead of a different side setback of 5-foot setback instead of 7.5 feet. So that was that.
Well, wait,
You want to? Okay. They're saying that's not correct. So I'll let them deal with the setback one, they can bring that up, because I don't want to misrepresent what they said. They have a couple of other changes that they can address, and then we'll just chime in if we agreed with them
Okay, great.
and make a recommendation.
All right, go ahead, Paul, give it your.
Sure, I just want to give a quick overview, then I know Mr. Parks wants to go with a few things in detail, but just a quick overview. So the proposal is for 139 lots of PUD. It is consistent with the COP plan amendment that you guys approved last year. They are asking for some exceptions to the standard guidelines, which Mr. Parks will approve. I'm just giving the kind of overview here. Staff still has a couple outstanding issues that need to get resolved for final approval. One is for the improvements the developers would do to 8th, 9th, and Temple Street. We have not come to a conclusion on that. In addition, they want to ask for an exception to the dry line sewer requirements that are required on new developments. And we can go in that in a little more detail later when you got some questions. But I'll let Mr. Parks kind of just give a little bit more specifics on it, and then we'd be glad to answer questions from council on it.
Okay, thank you, Paul. So again, just to just kind of summarize things, the request tonight is for the PUD zoning change only. If you remember, the future land use map amendment was approved a while back, previously to this. And just again, a little more history to this. This property was actually annexed into the town many years ago. I don't think anybody on the current council was even here, even on the council, I should say. They were here, but they weren't. It was 2006, somewhere around there, yeah.
Oh, I was there.
You were here. I don't mean here, I mean
I was on council.
Yes. Oh, you were, okay. All right, so it was.
I think I was born on council.
It was, yeah, happy birthday, by the way.
Don't die on the council.
Happy birthday. So it's been a long time, and my point in saying that is that for many, many years, that property was annexed but never had a land use map amendment, and never had a land use designation or a zoning designation. So everything you're going through is very appropriate now, because you have, it sort of has to be done at this point. You have an applicant that's proposing this development. So maybe we could put up, just for the audience purposes of, the site. I think everybody here is familiar with where this is, but the applicant will come up in a few minutes here and make a presentation to you, just like they did at Planning and Zoning. Again, we are not going to go into the preliminary site plan approval. What happens is, if you approve this as a zoning rezoning tonight, there's the ordinance that's been pretty heavily detailed. It does require everything to be consistent with the town subdivision criteria, the manual. They are asking for some waivers. We can go over that, but they are in your staff report. In addition, the applicant is proposing some public space. I think I'll let them come up and present their case and what they're doing in addition. Particularly what you might be interested in is how this is going to differ from just a straight zoning. I mean, there are more units here, but this is limited still to the 2 units per acre. So I think they'll come up and they'll be able to, through their presentation, explain why going through the PUD, obviously, there's a benefit, obviously to them, but potentially to the town as well. And that will be laid out, so you'll want to pay attention to the language of the ordinance, because that has the very specifics in it. And as a reminder then, if you approve that tonight, there's still the preliminary site plan, which was tabled by Planning and Zoning. That would have to come back to you as well. That's where we're the staff, the engineer, we're going to get into even more details. It's preliminary engineering than what you'll see. The ordinance for that will be even longer, because there'll be more requirements from that point on. So I'm here to answer any questions. I don't know if you, Mayor, if you want to go right to the applicant making.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's
Okay.
do that.
Yeah.
Come on up, Mr. Plaintiff.
Mayor and Council, good evening. Like I said, Mayor, it's been a long road. I'm Brian Kanan. I'm with Kenley Horn. My address is 200 South Street, Orlando. And you're right, I think we were here about 18 months ago. Oh. Yeah, if.
Sandy, we'll give him a hand with that.
If anybody can't hear, just raise your hand and I'll, okay.
Okay, I'll have to go.
Help him raise that mic up.
Can you turn that mic up or something?
There it is.
Let's see how it works now.
How's that?
Perfect.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to have that happen. Okay, so, it's been 18 months ago. So to summarize what we ended up with was from your board, your council here, we got approval for a residential PUD, and it was to be under 2 units an acre. We're actually going to be less than 2 units an acre, which I'll get into later. And the big thing was the lots are half-acre lots. Regardless of the size, they're half-acre lots. And they vary quite a bit. I might cover some of the things that Anita started talking about, which is what changed at the P&Z meeting. It was a very intense meeting, by the way. And we had a lot of participation there, too. But they didn't want us to have any 50-foot lots. So we removed all the 50-foot lots and converted them to 60-foot lots. So the minimum lot size in this project, and I think there's about 13 of those, is going to be 60-foot lots. The other thing was we had asked for minimum side yards of 5 feet, and they really felt strongly about that. So we agreed to go to 7.5 feet. So all of our lots are half-acre. All of our lots have 7.5-foot side yards, and they're all varied between 60, 70, 75, and 80 foot wide. Those are some of the main things that came out of the P&Z meeting, other than we dropped from 139 units, which you originally approved to be up to about 200. So we ended up at 139, and now we're at 137. So we've been going down, and we're comfortable with that. I think at this point, probably we should go through the PowerPoint. Okay, we've got to look over there. So, as everybody knows in the room, this is a very extraordinary site, and you can see, how it relates to the rest of the town in that drawing. Next. And in addition to that, it's got this unbelievable relationship to one of the largest lakes in this area that's been continually improved, thank goodness, since 1945, when it had really bad water quality. So we've got lakefront, almost half of the lakefront that the town has on Lake Apopka is in this project. So that's significant to us, and that we take very seriously. Next. This is what you approved when we were here last. Low-density residential PUD. So I think you approved a PUD. Anita will comment if I'm wrong on that. And it's about 111 acres, and it was allowed to go up to 2 units an acre, which we're not going to get to. Next. So this is what the zoning map, the zoning is for. Same thing, exactly. Next. Okay, so this is our plan, and it has a lot more detail. So you can see on the west side we've got abutting us a large wetland area, which we're buffering, and on the east side we have the lake. So we've color-coded the types of lots. You can see the 60s, the 70s, the 75s, and the 80s. In those different colors, I can answer any questions about those lots. We've also set minimum dimensions to those lots, so they, you know how they get to 1 acre. I think some of them are in the 400 feet, if I'm correct, minimum. We have a trail which we're going to integrate nicely into the rest of the town on the south side, with a nice 30-foot easement there and a lot of landscaping. We've got this, one of the really interesting features on this plan is the way we're handling stormwater. And the stormwater is mostly that blue area in the middle of the site that's going to be a wonderful amenity, very natural, and you'll see some examples of what we think that looks like. The road system's quite simple and it's clear. We got 3 ways in and out of the site. So there's been a lot of concern about traffic, and so lots of discussion about that, but we're very comfortable with that. And there's this discussion item that we're going to get into by someone else on our team. We have a couple of other team members here about the roads and the cost and how we want to deal with that. We've got some really nice little parks, one on the southeast corner, one up on the northwest corner, one at the entrance area, and one where there's a very large historical tree that we're making into a park. Next, we go to the, I can come back to these if there's any more questions. We go to the road systems quickly. Okay, more site information. Let's stay with that. Thanks, Paul. So, you know, there's the site. The wetland area is about just under 17 acres. The site is vacant as of today. We talked about what you approved before, which is PUD low density residential up to 2 units an acre with half-acre lots. Current zoning is agriculture, and we're proposing the PUD low density residential next. So these are some of the standards that will guide this development. The front setbacks will be 20 feet, the rear setbacks 20 feet, the lakefront rear setbacks will be 50 feet, all the side yards are going to be 7.5 feet. On the street side, there'll be 10, so it increases. The open space that is supposed to be minimum for us is 15%, but we really have 50%. So we have a great amount of open space. And the wetland buffers are 25 feet. The boundary buffer on the south is 30 feet. And we're limited to 2 stories, single-family homes. Next. Okay, so we're at 137 units. The density is 1.45, or if you do it on a gross basis, it's 1.23, so it's low density. And by the way, as you know, Council, it took us a while to get to that low density. The required open space is just under 17 acres, and we have double that. We have 34 acres. And the wetland area that is part of that open space calculation is about 12 acres. And our dedicated open space is just under 22 acres. Next. So the roads are very carefully designed. We're very much conscious of making this a walkable community. So we've got 6-foot side yards, and we've got canopy oak trees, probably live oaks. So we have shaded sidewalks, so people can walk in the shade, you know, get protection. We've got typical road standard with 12-foot travel lanes. And we've got a large area for the oak trees, 10 feet. Next. And then some of the roads, the main loop road has this small feature in the middle, which is 4-foot raised area that we worked out with your planner. And we're very grateful for the help we got on that to calm traffic. Because we don't.
Quickly, I'm sorry, what does the V indicate on the small map in the lower corner?
Oh, yeah, it's hard to see, but if you look at the left diagram, it shows where those roads exist with the little b's. It's just showing which roads they are. One more drawing on that, I think. Okay, C. So this the one road that goes up the middle of the site, we're providing parallel parking with trees as well. So that's what's different in this drawing. Next. So, you know, those areas that I talked about where we're handling the stormwater, they're going to look like this. They're dry ponds. They're very sculptural. They're very natural. They'll be good habitat. And when we're dealing with the smaller, more improved areas like the parks, next slide, we're going to go with native plants, pollinators, that's good for bird life in terms of food supply. And, you know, just a wonderful natural feeling. So we want the site to be very natural and very green. And next, I think the last slide here is all the lighting is going to be designed around dark skies. I can answer any questions, and then when you're through the questions, I'd like to bring up a couple of other experts on our team to deal with some of the things that we haven't resolved. We've resolved a lot of things with staff, and we're working to within the last few days, actually, cleaning up some of the things that had to be agreed on.
Yeah, bring them up.
evening. Brian Ashby, Kimley Horn, engineer of record for the owner. So Brian did a great job explaining the project, and it has been a couple of years on this, and been a pleasure to work with your staff. They've been very helpful, and we're excited to be here tonight. So one of the items that we wanted to talk about this evening, when we talked about some of the waivers that we're requesting, the one about the 7.5-foot side setbacks, it's not a waiver from the setback per se, but there is some ordinance language in there that we want to clear up to allow AC units on the side yard, not in the rear, now that we've widened the distance between homes to be 15 feet minimum, to allow AC units on the side yard.
To allow what?
The AC units, the pads
okay.
for the AC units. When they were 5-foot setbacks, we understood the need to have those in the rear, just walkability, maintainability. But now that we've widened those, we'd like the ability to have the developer, the builder, be able to put those in the side unit, really for maintainability, and just to be able to give them more options. One of the other items we wanted to discuss today as well was the waiver that we're asking for from the town of Montverde's code for the dry lines, the installation of the dry lines. As of right now, the plan for this project is to go to a distributed wastewater system. And so each lot will be individually served by a state of Florida permitted, essentially a treatment system on site that would then be pumped via a low pressure system to a master drain field that we would have on the site. And that meets all state FDEP requirements. It meets the criteria for the current BMAP. And so having the developer also then install dry gravity sewer lines in approximately about 7,500 linear feet of 8-inch gravity main, 137 individual services to homes that are dry and not being used, and then approximately 2,500 linear feet of force main. It's a pretty extreme burden to place on the developer when they're handling all of their sanitary sewer on site in a FDEP regulated system. So that's really one of the things we want to discuss today. It's an additional waiver that wasn't included in the ordinance. We discussed it with staff, but as Anita so graciously mentioned, she wanted to give everybody the opportunity to kind of opine on that. In there as well, there's a waiver in there to allow retaining walls taller than 60 inches. The reason for that is the site has some pretty extreme topography on it. If you've been out there, a lot of the natural slopes are a 2-to-1 slope, and we don't even design ponds with that steep of a slope in certain areas. And so having to kind of work with that, we will need retaining walls that will be higher than that. The code allows for them to be tiered, but for maintenance purposes, we would appreciate the opportunity to be able to allow those to be one contiguous wall. You see it a lot in kind of the Claremont area down State Road 50, even in Mineola, you see those continuous walls that are a little bit taller. And so for maintenance purposes, we're requesting to do that. When you tier them, vegetation grows. It becomes a pain to maintain those areas between the walls, and so hence the reason to request the waiver there. They'll still have to be signed and sealed, designed by a Florida registered engineer, not myself, but a structural engineer, and they will have to be approved by the town. I think that was pretty much the items that we wanted to touch on. Yeah, we can talk about the fences. One other ordinance change that we requested, there was some ordinance language in there about picket fences required along the rear property boundaries, really along Osgood Road there to kind of separate our development from the neighbors to the south. And then also in various areas around the community, our development, where we have stormwater easements, so that we talked about. It's a pretty unique design. Actually, myself and Brian worked on this, and it was an idea that came up from my neighborhood I grew up in, where we had our stormwater ponds directly behind our homes. The lot lines went into them, and that's how we kind of came up with this idea. We wanted it a really nice native landscaped pond area, and so in order to do that and make sure that it stays maintained the way it needs to, great, thank you. That's the easement plan right there. So those blue areas, especially the ones in the center there, we would be proposing fences or signage along those areas to strictly delineate where homeowners' maintenance responsibility is and then where the HOA's responsibility would be in perpetuity. And so a request would be to allow any type of fence that meets Montverde standards, not just picket fences, just to give the builder the ability to do wrought iron, aluminum, split rail, whatever it is, not just a picket fence. So that's one of the other requests that we have as well.
Do you want to go through this Kimberly Horn report right here?
Can I ask a quick question? The yellow shaded area on the bottom there, what is,
Sure.
What is that?
The yellow shaded area is the master drain field. So after all the wastewater is treated on the individual lots, they would get pumped to a master drain field, no different than a drain field in your backyard for a septic system, except this is cleaned, this is met DEP required water quality.
Yeah, it's 90%.
What's that?
You're doing the on-site, so it's 90% clean.
That's correct. Yep.
On-site was the one, just so we're all, that was the one that we rejected on the last meeting. Okay, just so we're all on the same page.
Okay.
Quick question on that one.
Go ahead.
So you're not gonna irrigate with it? You're not gonna irrigate with it?
No, there are no plans to irrigate with that water. No, irrigation will be pulled from Lake Apopka via consumptive use permit, and so we would be irrigating with water from Lake Apopka, or if that is unsuccessful, which we don't think it wouldn't be, but if not, it would be via an irrigation well. And there's a couple of irrigation wells on the site there today.
So this is the waivers? Is this? This is your report?
I don't know.
This is a question response.
Oh, no, that is a comment.
Oh, all right. Can you,
No, that's a comment response letter from, it's
okay. It
communication.
sounded like waivers when you were reading it, when I was reading it, but can we go through the waivers that you were interested in getting?
Yeah, we can, if it's helpful, Mayor, we do have, Lisa can read through Section 3. This is right from the...
Section 3?
Got
Wait
a
a minute,
couple
I'm
questions.
asking a question here.
Got
Yeah.
a couple questions, Brian.
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay.
I'll give it to you. What were you saying?
So if you want, we can read the waivers right now into record from Section 3. Is that correct, from Monita, from the ordinance, as I'm seeing? So we can read
Section
those
3.
for you so everybody knows. And then I will add, if it's helpful, because I know you into the details, we can go through the ordinance, section by section and paraphrase it. I didn't do that in my report, but wanted to hear them first, but we can do that if you're...
All right, go ahead, Alan.
Brian, a quick question for you. You mentioned the setback went from 5 to 7.5 based on putting AC units on the side of the house versus the rear of the house.
Yeah, sure.
No, actually, the P&Z felt strongly that the distance that would be 10 feet between buildings was too tight.
Right.
And so when it was going to be 10 feet between buildings, the staff recommended that the AC units be in the back, not in the sides. But we agreed with P&Z to move it to 7.5, so that's 15 feet. And I think you'd all understand why we don't want the AC units in the back. That's where people live, they recreate, they have barbecues, and you have the noise and so forth. So they work functionally very nicely now in the 15 feet space, 7.5 and 7.5 on the sides, and so that's what that is.
So the request from, let me answer it real quick. The request from staff is when they were planning zoning, when they were doing the 5-yard setbacks, there were the air conditioners, you want to be able to walk between houses. If they're agreeing to the 7.5, the air conditioners now can be on the side according to our code, because we do allow it. There's nothing that would restrict it, so they don't need a waiver for air conditioners at this point with the 7.5-foot setback.
Well, I was just wondering about the design factor, because I'm envisioning how all of our developments around us have exploded. You got your fence up, people put shrubs in their flower little garden along the side, and I'm thinking, hey, the commercial landscaper who's going to come in and try and mow your yard can't get by that side of the house because you've got a 4-foot pad sitting there, and this 48-inch mower is not going to go on that side of the house.
Yeah, so now there'll be 15 feet, and so what we do at
Well,
Willow
that's-
Ridge, we make them alternate
Yeah.
between the air
They're going to be
conditioners.
staggered. Paul came up with that, and we agree with that.
I'm just thinking, worrying about the guy, they're saying, what do you mean I can't get a lawnmower in my backyard? That's all that's what I was thinking. You had a pad in the back, now you have a clean shot, 7.5 feet on both sides of the house, but no big deal.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Are we doing this together?
Do you
Sean?
want to do that, Sean?
Oh,
Sean,
I'm sorry.
you ready?
I'm sorry. Lisa, go ahead.
Would you like me to help
Yeah.
read through it, or?
Why don't we read them, just go through them and then.
Is that in our paperwork here?
Yeah, it's in the ordinance. Yeah.
Page 9, Mayor, section 3.
Yeah.
So the first one that we talked about is on page 2, which is the 7.5-foot side yards. And then the next one on page 3 is related to converting our 50-foot lots to 60-foot lots and losing 2 lots. And
What was the first one?
the first one was the 7.5-foot.
I think
versus 5.
specifically they're asking about the waivers from the
Yeah, why
design
don't-
standards.
To simplify this,
Yeah.
why don't we read through the ordinance? Lisa will do that right now, all the waivers, so everybody's clear on that. Yeah,
Okay,
all the
let's
waivers.
do that then. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
go ahead, Lisa.
Please, Lisa.
Okay. And these are waivers from the neighborhood standards manual that we have. So waiver from section VB, housing model style variety. No street block should have more than 2 consecutive single-family homes with the same house model. Granted with the following conditions. Proposed development may have more than 2 consecutive single-family homes with the same or similar house model. However, facades will differ in style, finishings, and color to maintain a non-monotonous street frontage. And the developer shall provide raised medians for traffic calming measures. Waiver number 2, section VE, architectural standards. Prohibited styles of modern, contemporary, or modern ranch, garage-dominated style homes with garage doors that exceed 30% of the front street-facing facade. Granted with the following conditions. Garages facing the street will not exceed 50% of the front elevation on the street-facing facade. This is proportionally well-balanced with the accepted styles given in the Standards and Guidelines Manual and are still relative to acceptable styles with front-loaded garages. Should a garage door exceed 30% of the front facade, pavers shall be used for the driveway and lead walk in lieu of poured concrete except for the driveway apron. And all garage doors will be upgraded from standard 32-panel garage doors. Third waiver, exterior finishes. Residential structures should support Montverde traditions and maintain a level of craft in the process of construction. Exterior finishes should be primarily hardy board, brick, rock, and masonry. Stucco is acceptable if consistent with an approved architectural style. Brick and stone veneer are prohibited. Granted with the following condition. Cultured brick and stone veneer must be used. The veneer must have an average thickness of 2.5 inches when applied to the walls or columns, adding texture and shadow. The veneer must vary in pattern, style, and color to enhance the architectural style and paint scheme. Waiver from where lots are 50 feet or less in width, garages must be, and this doesn't apply anymore. Right. I'm going to skip over this one.
There's no longer 50-foot lots.
Waiver number 5, no more than 50% of the lots in proposed subdivision, all phases, are permitted to contain front-loaded garages. The justification is alleys and alley-loaded garages are not practical nor feasible for the proposed lot configurations, and all lots have an average depth of over 250 feet. Front-loaded garages shall be allowed. This is granted with the following condition. The builder will provide side-loaded garages on 10% of the lots that are 60 feet or more in width. Waiver number 6, garages must be at a minimum 27 feet by 29 feet interior size. This is granted with the following condition. The homes will feature standard 2-car garages, which will be a minimum of 20 by 20 feet. Waiver number 7 from section VF, staying connected in walkable neighborhoods, traffic calming, intersections along primary entry roads to neighborhoods of 10 or more homes must contain a traffic circle at the main entry point of first intersection. Traffic circle size shall be determined by FDOT's Florida Green Book. This is granted with the following condition. Proposed traffic calming measures will not necessarily be consistent with FDOT's Florida Green Book. Instead, appropriate traffic calming measures as illustrated on page 26 of the manual must be utilized. Complete streets design measures will be implemented and include canopy street trees to provide shaded sidewalks, speed control devices. See traffic circle exhibit on page 26 of the manual, and on street parallel parking spaces where appropriate as determined by the town. Waiver number 8 from block length. Connectivity shall be promoted with short blocks, wide sidewalks, pathways, and a mix of uses within walking distance. There shall be a maximum block length of 500 feet and circumference of 1,300 feet. The applicant may vary this requirement up to 25% provided site conditions or engineering considerations justify the variance. The justification is the required block length and circumference specifications are not feasible considering the existing site conditions and the proposed large lot, low-density master plan that mandates minimum half-acre lot sizes. The entire site is walkable with on-street canopy trees providing shaded sidewalks. This is granted with the following condition. The builder shall provide a 4-foot wide raised median which will be implemented throughout the development. This median will help calm traffic and provide safe crossing points for pedestrians, improving walkability while supporting the low-density character of the development. Waiver number 9 from section VH conservation criteria and landscaping and canopy coverage requirements. All trees installed for canopy coverage in areas including residential lots, right-of-way, open space, and common areas must be native to Florida. This does not preclude the use of specimen fruit trees in appropriate areas. Canopy coverage utilizing palm trees must include palm species native to Florida. Trees that grow up to 30 feet should be planted at least 4 feet from any sidewalk. 30 to 50-foot trees should be planted at least 6 foot from any sidewalk. And trees that grow to over 50 feet should be planted at least 8 feet from any sidewalk, including fruit trees approved by IFAS. The justification, 3 to 4 feet from sidewalks is standard practice in the industry, and 8 feet is deemed to be excessive and unnecessary. This is granted with the following conditions. Canopy trees must adhere to the native species requirements. And when canopy trees are planted closer than 8 feet to sidewalks, trails, and pavement, root barriers must be utilized to prevent damage. In no case shall a tree be planted less than 4 feet from a sidewalk, trail, or road. Waiver number 10 from H1F landscaping, water conservation. Consistent with the town's comprehensive plan for any proposed subdivision having more than 25 lots, non-potable sources for landscape irrigation must be provided. The justification is as non-potable water sources are not available for this community, the developer may be using potable water for temporary irrigation systems to be utilized during the landscape establishment period. Waiver number 11 from Article 3 Hillside Development, Section 4-52E. If a retaining wall is required, then the wall should be shown with the grading plan and design certified by a state registered engineer if over 36 inches in height. Walls over 60 inches will not be allowed. Any wall 36 inches and over shall be installed with a decorative aluminum handrail as required by the Florida Building Code. Wood retaining walls are prohibited. Justification is the proposed development will require retaining wall heights greater than 60 inches due to the severe topography of the site. This will limit the use of tiered retaining walls to allow for easier maintenance and provide more usable yard space. This is granted with the following condition. Walls must be a maximum height of 60 inches unless the applicant proves to the town that the walls need to be higher than the increased height may be granted by the town manager, town planner, or town engineer.
Okay, so that's a pretty detailed description of the waivers, and we thought it was important that that be read into record, and the reason why those were accepted for, that we were okay with recommending the waivers, the criteria that they would have to adhere to. So, yeah, I think it's important to also read that in addition to those, there'll be, you can read them, it's also on the same page, this would be page 12 of the ordinance. There'll be 6 highly visible interpretive kiosk signs be placed in the common areas of the that will showcase the archaeological significance of the site. Kiosks may describe the natural resources and the adjacent to the residential subdivision. The interpretive kiosk will be a minimum size of 4 foot by 8 foot with roof cover and shall be maintained by the HOA. Number 2, to provide an opportunity for community engagement and activity, the developer will create a recreational features such as tot lots and outdoor exercise equipment, which has been indicated on the map. The applicant showed where those would be. The developer shall provide cultural and wayfinding signage to be displayed across the site to promote connectivity and emphasize the site heritage. The developer will ensure non-monotonous street frontage by using different techniques which will be determined at the time of final engineering, so that would come up also during preliminary site planning. A 30-foot landscape buffer with trail included must be constructed along Osgood Road at the southern boundary of the site. I'm not sure if that was mentioned earlier. To further connectivity, a trail connection to the Lake County Trail System must be constructed. That we can go over in a minute as well. And then construction drawings cannot be submitted for review until the utility agreement is approved as well. So a lot there, but those are the additional conditions to grant those waivers in addition to what Lisa read as the criteria for granting the waivers. Any questions about that?
No? Come on up.
Pleases the council, I think we have one other important discussion item, and it has to do with the off-site streets and the improvements and how that should be handled. And I think I'd like to call one of our team members, Marie Osborne, to talk about that.
Okay.
Happy New Year. I'm Maury Osborne, and I work with Nelson Mullins Law Firm in Orlando. Address is 390 North Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida, 32801. And Tom Selleck's going to be coming right up behind me. I have some handouts, but I don't want you to be overwhelmed by them. I'm not going to go over every page, but what I'm handing out is to everyone is 2 pages from the town code, and then there's a few pages from the state statute on concurrency, and there's a little bit at the end. It's the biggest section, but I'm only going to go over a couple things on that. It's actually from your town comp plan, the one that's on your website that you're going through some changes with. So I want to make sure everyone has a copy of that.
And council, while he's passing those out, just for clarity, because I see a couple of people asking, the discussion is the off-site streets, which is to the development. So we're discussing, I believe, 8th Street, 9th Street, and Temple. So everybody's just where the discussion is going.
So I had the pleasure of leaving big firm practice, and Dr. Falwell called me, and I was an inaugural professor of law at Liberty University, and I taught land use. And there was a real important Supreme Court case that came out in 2024 that deals with impact fees for roads. Up to this time, it wasn't, totally clear. You guys have a legislative decision in your town code that deals with impact fees, so it's legislative in nature. And the Supreme Court ruled, one of the only times I've seen them rule 9-0 in favor of the landowner when it had to do with impact fees and also other exactions that a town might ask for when it's asking a developer to mitigate some things with the building of the development. So I just wanted to go over that real briefly. The case that just came out in 2024 is the case of Sheets versus County of El Dorado. And there's some old cases in the history of the Supreme Court, one's from 1987, that's the Nolan case, and the other one is in 1994, which is the Dolan case. What's interesting to me about that is, if you look, the inset I have there, the Nolan case said that legislative imposed traffic impact fees must have an essential nexus to the government's land use interest. And the second says that legislative imposed traffic impact fees must have a rough proportionality to the developer's impact on the land use interest. And why that interested me is because your code had some language that is pretty close to those two cases. I think whoever wrote it was thinking about Nolan-Dolan. The town of Montverde's code instead uses the terms reasonable connection and reasonably related. It says the city council finds the transportation impact fees are reasonably related to the cost of providing capital facilities equipment needed for roads to accommodate new growth. The city council also finds there's a reasonable connection between the anticipated expenditures of the transportation impact fees collected and the benefits accruing to the anticipated new development. And then just very briefly, your next code in 1647, the town's legislative finding, it says finds, determines, and declares these items. And what it says is that any development necessitated by growth contemplated in the comprehensive plan will require improvements and additions to the town road system to accommodate the development generated by such growth. And here's what I have highlighted: maintain the standards of service currently provided by the town. And then it says future growth as represented by residential construction should contribute its fair share to the cost. And I won't go into a lot of detail about what's in your code, but it purely says that your impact fees are the fair share. So you designed a code that says you calculate the impact fees, that's the fair share for the development. There's another case that came out in 2013, actually in Florida. It was in Orange County. It was a 5-4 decision. And it dealt with one of the topics we're going to talk about here tonight, which are off-site improvements that were put on a developer. And that was decided in the developer's favor as well, 5-4, based on Nolan and Dolan, those two cases. Here's another item in 1647. It says, construction occurring within the town impacts upon the town road system. Therefore, new construction should pay its fair share of the cost of maintaining the town's existing standard of service. And that fair share, like I said, is the impact fee. Now, they do say that in lieu of all or part of the transportation impact fee, the town council may enter into a developer's agreement with a person seeking to develop land to allow such person to construct off-site road system improvements determined necessary as a result of the development of the property. But then at the end of that section, it says, if acceptable, the town shall agree to credit the cost of construction of the improvements towards the transportation impact fee chargeable. So the impact fees are the total amount. And then if they do any lieu of off-site improvements, it's up to the amount of the impact fee. That's how it's written. Again, the state statute's 5 pages, but I just wanted to read, this is in concurrency section 163-3180. And your comp plan now has quite a few sites to this comp plan, but those sections are no longer in the plan. So I think that's part of the reason you guys are redoing your comp plan. On page 2, it says, this is 5A, page 2 of those 5 pages. If concurrency is applied to transportation facilities, you as a town did not have to include transportation. It's not state mandated, but you chose to put it in your comp plan. The local government comprehensive plan must provide principles, guidelines, standards, and strategies, including adopted levels of service. And there's a bunch of things in the state statute that kind of gives the town guidance of what they're supposed to do. And one of those says is an adoption of an area-wide level of service not dependent on any single road segment function. That was interesting. Reducing impact fees to promote development within urban areas. If you think about it, this is the last piece of property in Montverde that's hooking to the urban area as well. So the state is saying, give the developer a break. Go ahead, Tom. Yeah. Yeah. What Tom was asking about, there's a section also in the comp code that says that the developer does not make up for your deficiency. So let's say right now what's in the ordinance you have in front of you is a developer would be required to take the 3 roads that now dead end in his property and pave them all completely and put sidewalks on them. And the cost of that's like $3.7 million to do that. The impact fees for this project are $112,000. And I'll let Tom speak to what developer is offering instead of that concept. But in the comp plan, it says an applicant shall not be held responsible for the additional cost of reducing or eliminating deficiencies. When an applicant contributes or constructs his proportionate share pursuant to this paragraph, a local government may not require payment or construction of transportation facilities whose costs would be greater than a development's proportionate share of the improvements necessary to mitigate the development's impacts. And with that, I'll let Tom give you some history on this section. So.
Hi, everybody. Excuse me, can you hear me? My name is Tom Settle, not Tom Selleck. And
now I'm disappointed. He said Tom Selleck.
Such a disappointment. I'm about 6 inches shorter. Probably giving myself too much credit there. My address is 1140 South Orlando Avenue, Maitland, Florida. The subject of the road deficiencies, the street deficiencies, the 3 roads, 8th, 9th, and Temple that lead into the property. You know, the road widths, the pavement is something like 18 feet wide, and it's that way all across town. You know, if these are deficient, all of the roads in town are deficient. And what Maury's been saying to us is, you know, the law is behind you, and I don't want to get into, you know, the staff comments from the beginning were, you know, the developer will be required to bring these roads up to standards, up to 24 feet width. And initially, the logic centered on traffic counts, and the engineer's comments went back to a traffic study. You know, that no longer seems to be the issue. We're being the reason for those improvements, that those will be imposed upon us. But, you know, based on what Maury says, I said to Paul, what we propose to do is, you know, our obligation, according to our council, is pay your impact fees. We'd like to offer more. We'd like to offer a contribution of $500,000, which is inclusive of the impact fee. So approximately $400,000 over and above the impact fee to use as you, the town, see fit. Whether you want to improve 1 road, 2 roads, 3 roads, it's up to you. You know, I know there's going to be pushback from the folks who live on those roads as far as, you know, putting a sidewalk across their bow, or even carving into what they consider, you know, their property. Even, you know, I know it's in the right of way. We all know how that works, but you know, I've been one who's had the town come through and say we're going to put a sidewalk across you. You know, granted, I pushed back on it and changed my opinion when the work was done. But anyway, I don't want that to be our battle. You know, we'd like to make a donation to the town, and you guys can use it as you see fit. So that's our proposal. It's not It's not in your package, and we wanted to make sure that that was out there.
So this is a contribution in addition to the impact fees?
500,000 includes the impact fee, so it's approximately 400,000.
So to be clear, I think what he's saying is he wants to prepay the impact fee, so it's not a contribution or a donation, it's a prepayment of impact fees.
Well, it's 112 plus minus though.
But his impact fees would normally be about probably 600,000, so he wants to give us the 500,000 impact fee in advance. Pay the impact fee in advance and pay the rest.
Impact fees was 112
No, the total impact fees will be more than that for the site, I believe.
for all the houses.
I'm just talking about the road impact fee.
Correct,
The
transportation.
transportation
Okay.
impact fee is something like $816 per unit times 137 lots. It's approximately $112,000, so.
Right, so you're saying you're going to give us 380 something?
388.
Go ahead. Mr. Mayor, I know the attorneys will appreciate this, just to make it clear on the record. So what you see in the ordinance, section I under transportation, so it should not be implied that the town is asking through this ordinance, the request being based off of going above and beyond some kind of an exaction. We just want to make it clear that it actually is related to safety, the current width of the roads. That has been a concern of the staff all along, has been from a safety standpoint. Yes, they are substandard roads, and that's not necessarily their fault, so we understand that. But at the same time, they are substandard, and when you have trucks and fire trucks and solid waste trucks and now Amazon trucks and delivery trucks, what have you, that was the issue. So I just want to make sure it's clear, it's on the record.
But you're saying they're substandard, but I would look at I wouldn't classify them substandard. I would say they're standard for the traffic that's going on those roads.
It doesn't meet our current code. So by the definition, they're substandard.
The applicant had mentioned that.
Yeah,
It's not to, I mean, of course, we don't mean it that you live on an 18-foot road, you're substandard. But it's just saying with the current, there is a reason why the cities have progressed to a minimum
fire
24
trucks
width. Yeah, fire trucks and things like that. So I just want to make sure that's on the record. I understand their concerns as well, and I don't blame them for asking that, but.
And to be clear, I just want to kind of clear staff recommendation. So our code does state that they bring up to the current standard. He is 100% entitled to the pro rata share of impact fees. We're not going to argue that point. They're entitled to build a road and get impact fee credits. With that said, we have a life safety and health issue. The roads, we know, with additional traffic, fire trucks, cement trucks, semi trucks going to deliver, there's an issue there. Our current standard, we utilize the Mount Dora standards, is what the town adopted, which includes, I believe, a 24-foot road, curb, gutter, the whole 9 yards. We're not asking that of the developer. We're asking for which is more style of the Montverde style for this particular area, a 24-foot road, which includes a concrete ribbon and a sidewalk on one side is what staff feels would be reasonable for the area. And with that said, that's kind of where the disagreement with the applicant. They want to go that far. Staff has concerns about life safety and healthy, and it's your option. They have low density zoning under their comp plan. This is a PUD. If you have the option of not approving a PDP just for that reason, for life safety health issues, if we can't get that worked out. And Anita could correct me if I'm wrong on that, but the roads obviously are a big issue for the area.
So when we received this paper and referenced this Florida statute, it put me down a rabbit hole a little bit. And I would disagree with what they're saying, to be honest, guys. Section 4-383, proportionate fair share, section 16-47 to 1649, sections 4-320 to 321. Those sections, in my opinion, they're collectively ensuring that the developments address the impacts on what they are creating and our infrastructure. I would disagree with that.
Oh, I missed your last couple of comments, the last sentence on the possibilities of which way we should go tonight.
Yeah, ultimately it is first reading, so staff is looking, I'm sure the developer is looking for what the council would like to do, where they want to go, and, we're recommending ultimately if this gets to the second reading and the road's not worked out, we would recommend denial of the project. The roads are essential for life safety and healthy to get done. This is first reading. I think everybody's looking for direction, including staff. Of course, the sewer dry lines are the other issue we got to discuss as well. But yeah, we need, it's ultimately going to be your decision of what you want done with the roads on the site. And
for the record, Mr. Sell said that the traffic density study was kind of gone on the wayside. I don't think so. That's not, we went round and around by traffic density and flow and stuff like that. It is what it is. We knew that. And so I don't think it's a moot point, though, for the residents of this town.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you...
Well, you made a comment that the traffic density study and whatever was kind of gone to the wayside. You said that, not me.
What I was trying to relay was, right now, the town manager is citing safety as the reason for expanding these roads. That wasn't the argument until council presented the evidence as far as the state statute and the Supreme Court and the town code, regarding impact fees being sufficient to cover the town's, transportation needs in the future. Now the discussion has gone from one that cited the traffic study saying, or the suggestion that the traffic impact, the trips on the road was what justified the widening of the road. Now the argument has shifted to one of public safety.
I don't see where the difference. Density is density, and then it also includes public safety. Pardon me if I miss your point.
There was not density, a traffic study. The traffic study says, and the traffic study has concluded, since we were asking for 300 and some units, not 137 units. It said that the levels of service, the LOS, the levels of service would not change as a result of these trips on these roads. And the traffic engineer qualified for me since then that his calculations, there's an adjustment factor included that accounts for the substandard nature of the roads. The inferences way back with the first staff comments were suggesting that wasn't taken into consideration. I didn't understand then, but I do now, that it was taken into consideration. Now the discussion has gone from focused on that, the traffic study, to one of public safety. Okay, since that didn't work, we'll shift the argument over here. Whether it's the roads are still deficient, whether it's affects public safety or not. And in the state statute says that we shouldn't be required to make up for pre-existing conditions.
It's not pre-existing when you use far more traffic on it and you move heavy equipment down there. You're going to move construction equipment. You're going to move moving in equipment. You're going to bring in everything. And the same thing as fire trucks and whatever. How is that pre-existing? Right now, the cows aren't doing anything.
Does this pass the test?
So council, to clarify, I think safety in the road and the amount of traffic has always been a concern. Half the residents, I think, came at the comp plan hearing and discussed that, about their concern about the traffic and the widths of the roads and what that would do out there. So that's a basis. But the reality is this is the first hearing we're having on actually seeing the final site plan that comes through. So this is what we look at with the traffic study, where the comp plan was, the kind of the initial look and grab at it. So it doesn't change what it is. And it seems like there could be some reasonableness for the developers to improve this road. We've talked about getting impact fee credits to the developer. You know, when Willow Ridge Development, they did a lot of traffic improvements and didn't even ask for impact fee credits. And not to say that's the basis for this one, but you're going to be seeing impact fee credit recommendations to increase quite a bit, especially around the traffic, because what we have is very outdated and doesn't include all the new costs. So, you know, the recommendation is going to be a pretty huge traffic impact fee increase anyway. So they have the ability to recover the majority of what they would put in there. Finally, I want to say I think the $3.4 million cost that you shared, the cost to do this, when I believe the engineer sent that to us, that was on the full Mount Dora standard roads, not what staff recommended be done out there.
How much is it?
So is that correct? That was the whole Mount Dora standard with the curb and the gutter and the sidewalks on both sides? That okay. But with the whole curb and everything, correct?
So how much is it?
Correct.
What we want? 3.5?
I mean, the engineer would have to kind of pop through that, but I would think it would be, you know, reasonable, probably more in the $1.8 million range. I can't really throw it out. I kind of look what we would be able to do it for, but you know.
And I'll take you back to the wording of Nolan and Dolan. There needs to be an essential nexus between what you're exacting from the developer and what now you're saying from a safety standpoint of what is required. And it's incumbent on the town to prove that, not the developer. So.
Okay, question for you.
Sure.
When you destroy the road to build the dream, who's left the road? 139 houses, that's minimum 10 yards per slab, correct?
Well, the town's going to have to prove that when developments are put in at the end of the road, that destroys a road.
Of course
Well,
it does.
okay.
Heavy equipment does.
When you're running block trucks and you're
Right.
going to run the front end loaders and the
Wouldn't it make logical sense
No.
to come down one road and not 3 roads? And
Okay,
also
so now
your
you're gonna
code
tear up-
says,
you're gonna
your
tear up
code
one
actually
road.
says 1 road. It doesn't say 3.
Okay.
So the developer could have 1 road and, you know, this amount of money that he's willing to put might be able to develop 1 road. You don't have
But
that
you're
as the
going,
entrance.
but
section.
you're going to destroy. And
No, I don't
excuse
agree
me,
with
don't
that.
don't get arrogant with me because
No, I'm not getting
I have
arrogant.
I have
just don't
family
agree with
brother
you.
who spent
Yeah.
40 years with Chemex as a site manager. He knows concrete trucks, weights, what they do to sites, and so forth. I've seen it. I'm just asking you. You're telling me that running all 139 concrete plus everything else, curbing, all this is going to have no effect on an existing road whatsoever.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm not being arrogant with you. I know the answer to the question. I'm not.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Well, the town has to provide the evidence that that's true, but I'll let the.
All right.
Anita, can you
Of course.
give any direction
As
on
far as
this
what we could
at this
do
point?
is just
No?
table this.
Okay. All right, well, we're going round and round.
It's been 3 years.
So we're doing, talking roads now. Let's go to some other subject so we don't get so worked up on it. What other thing do we need to talk about tonight, and then we'll come back to this?
Dry lines, we need some direction on the dry
Okay.
lines.
So the dry lines are the sewer lines, or do we want put in, so that's what the code reads. And of course, they're putting the WTS in, and they don't want to do the dry lines. But if the town was to do a sewer 3,000 years from now,
Or be forced.
it would have to put the lines in at that time. So that's the argument the town's having, right, with the developer. So, do you want to, you need to add to that at all?
No.
Okay. So that's the other hot button here is the dry lines.
Can I add to
Okay.
that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
About the
Sure.
DWTS systems. So if and when the town is forced to, or not forced, wants to, construct a wastewater treatment plant, the DWTS system is a state permitted wastewater treatment facility on site and meets current VMAP and state requirements. It's a fully contained system on site. So we would not be required, or the state would not require a connection from our development because we're treating all of our water on our site to current state standards. So something to kind of think about.
I'm just curious, what would it cost to put dry lines in?
You're talking 7,500 linear feet of 8-inch gravity main. Total rough order magnitude of cost is
Go high.
Yeah,
Go high.
about $2 million.
Okay.
state statute in concurrency directly has a paragraph that's on point for this. I'm sorry. The handout that I gave out on the state statute, concurrency 163-3180, on the bottom of that page, I highlighted this section.
Which page?
Page 1.
Page 1 of the second section. It says, consistent with public health and safety, sanitary sewer, solid waste, drainage, adequate water supplies, and potable water facilities shall be in place and available to serve new development no later than the issuance of a local government of a certificate of occupancy. And then the bottom down it says a local government may meet concurrency requirement for sanitary sewer through the use of on-site sewage treatment disposal system, exactly what Brian just said, approved by DEP. So actually, before they get their first permit, they've met concurrency under this section. So it really doesn't make any logical sense for them to meet concurrency, or the town meets concurrency through this, and then to have to put in something else when they've already met concurrency. That's the only point I wanted to make.
So we got the two things on the table that are showstoppers at the moment, right? Okay. All right,
Yeah.
well, let's discuss those two things as a group here.
I had a question for the
Sure,
developer,
go ahead.
actually. The DWTS systems, is it two homes are sharing one system?
That's an option. You can either do a single home per DWTS, or they can share.
Right, is that what, which way is it going?
It'll depend, right? So if I have an odd number of homes on a street, at least one of them will have its own singular use, right? So the DWT, depending on if you're doing a double home or a single home, just depends on that essentially dictates the size of the system.
So, the question, who's paying the electric bill for that, since it's one system for two homes? When it's going through it all, if I remember correctly from the on-site that we had 2 weeks ago.
Sure. That would be paid, I would imagine, by the homeowners themselves, just like an E1 grinder pump on your property or anything that you would have in a septic system. So that would be a shared cost. That would have to be a shared cost.
And the HOA is going to manage it.
It would have to, yes. Yep.
Okay.
And that's correct, yeah, town doesn't want to take that system over, so we
don't
ask
want
the
that.
HOA does that, so.
Okay, so we have those two issues we need to walk through to even move to the next thing of granting a PUD, right? Okay. Personally, I'm not ready to vote on it myself, so I'm just kind of putting it out there because, I just got really introduced to both sides. I need time to think about it. I need time to discuss it with people that I trust and come up with.
agree.
I'm just not prepared to make a decision. I can't. I'm sorry, and I know it's frustrating, and it's frustrating for both sides. So I personally would make a motion that we hold off, give us a few weeks here to get through these two subjects, so we're prepared to talk to you about it, and and be fair, and we need direction too from our attorney, obviously. So I'll make a motion that we just sideline it and get it back on schedule as fast as possible.
I'll second it.
Come on up, you got to give us your name and all. Okay.
Hang on. Sandy, would you take him a mic back there, please?
He's in the chair. Yeah.
I
Sandy,
can hear you. Go ahead.
We have a mic going to him for the
That
record here.
microphone to him.
Honey, I'm loud. People hear me. Thank you.
Yeah, we just need it for the audio, sorry.
Okay, sorry. Stone, Thomas J., 17538 Virginia Circle, Montverde. Now, I hear a lot about the roads and everything. Yes, that's a concern to me, and also concerns 137 homes. How many cars is that? That's what I haven't heard.
I don't have the traffic count.
Double it,
2 times, that's what I figured.
at least. 3 times at least.
Yeah.
See, that's a number I would like to have before any decision was made.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
10
thank you
trips
very
per
much.
house.
Okay. Yeah, we got the traffic studies. We can give you that number. I just don't have it in front of me. But,
270.
let me go back to making the motion. Do I get a second on that? Okay, I got to
Mayor?
make.
Are we done, we're done talking about it then?
Huh?
We have a lot of speaking. For the record, we need the audience to not be talking when the council's
Oh, I'm
talking.
sorry.
So are we done talking with it? Are we done talking as a council right now?
What?
Are we done talking as council about it now? We're just, you want to?
No, we're just gonna go home and think about it.
Okay. Again, I'd like to personally, I'd rather, what's the offset if we go back to just R1 and don't do a PUD.
That's something to think about. And, but I'm just, I don't know.
Okay.
I just need time to think about it. So I just want to shelf it for right now.
Is it possible to add this on the agenda for our special meeting on the 28th?
Mike.
I doubt it. It's too fast.
We don't have sufficient time for noticing.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you going to table the meeting to the next regular meeting? So we would need actual specific date for the next regular meeting.
Okay, let's do that. Let me table it to, withdraw my motion. I make a new motion, we'll table it until the next council meeting next month.
February 11th.
February 11th. And at that time, be better prepared to discuss it, because we'll go around and around right now for 2 hours, and I don't think we'll get anywhere, just out of my own experience.
So let's vote.
We'll vote real quick, and then I'll get to you in a minute. I got a motion. Anybody second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay.
Nay.
Okay. You wanted to speak? Come on up and speak.
Well, are there going to be public comments, like, for the next one?
Next one, yeah.
Yeah.
But you can do it now if you want.
I'm sure everybody's tapped out.
Put it on, okay. All righty. All right, yes, George.
George.
Come on up.
Mayor, since you've already tabled it, it'd be proper to take public comment at the next hearing as
sorry.
opposed to after you've
Okay.
already tabled
I
it.
just-
Why is it that we have never heard anything? When we're talking about roads, this, that, and the other, what's he doing for Montverde? We have a sewage treatment area in our front yard now, and they've got the trail. When I saw the original plan, it was a botanical garden that went through there. Now, I've landscaped 50, 60 developments in this area, some up to 4,000 homes. I know what I'm talking about. But this place, it's on Drosy.
Do me a favor. Come talk to me about it, and we'll talk about the next meeting.
This sewage refinery there is in my front yard.
Yeah, it sounds,
And
it is across
nobody
the
in
street.
Mount Bird's coming ahead. What are we gaining from this thing?
It hasn't been okay.
Understood.
No, that definitely hasn't been
That's what I'm
okay.
saying. Every time I come, it's different. And this thing is,
Well, that's partly our fault because we're making different requirements
well,
on
I'm
it.
under a Z.
Yeah. All righty. I can't take any comments, the attorney's on. Okay.
Hi, Catherine Wigginton, 16703 Magnolia Terrace.
Microphone, please.
I do have a lot of comments about that project. Sat here for 3 hours tonight for the opportunity.
Right,
But anyway,
my attorney just tells us not to take comments tonight.
okay, the one comment that I would like to say is at the beginning of this meeting.
I'm sorry, can the gallery just hold it down just long enough for her to get her comment out, please?
The beginning of this meeting tonight, every one of you was so awesome about protecting and preserving Ferndale. All I'm going to ask is you do the same for Montverde.
That's what we're trying
That's all I
to do.
ask. Don't be
That's what
All
we're
righty.
trying to do.
Anything else that anybody wants to talk about, council?
That has nothing to do with the Osgood property.
Okay. Need a motion to go home? Yep.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I got a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say nay. Ayes have it.
Who said this was gonna be a short meeting?
We got Billy back.
Who said that?
No,
I knew
you're
it
right.
would.
I just,
And you can come back.
We sat here for 4 hours.
Huh? Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.